YouTube says I'm live, and this is going to be a Village Idiot Q&A. Of course, every Q&A on this channel is a Village Idiot Q&A, but I'm thinking I'm going to be addressing mostly stupid or dumb questions this evening, or maybe not. We'll see how it goes, as always. So this is a thank you. It's a thank you for 8,000 subs. It's a thank you for June's payment, your charitable donations of over 350. Hang on. It's a thank you for eight. Yes, $350 US, or just above it. Your charitable donations have been handed out to two organizations here in Jerusalem. If you want to know the details, take a look at my community post from earlier. It's not something I take for granted. You giving your hard-earned money, you viewing, you subbing, you participating, and it's deeply appreciated. James Bong is here. Okay, so we have the poll going. So what do you think of the thumbnail, people? Is it stupid? Is it silly? Is it idiotic? Or is it not stupid, silly, or idiotic enough? I would love to know what you good people think of the thumbnail. You know, YouTube says you gotta hook them with a thumbnail. You gotta do all that stuff that the algorithm likes. You gotta have people stay, watch. The thing is that this channel, right? I don't chase the trends. I don't try to appease the YouTube algorithm. The YouTube algorithm has been very gracious and very bountiful towards this channel, and it's really lovely to see it unfold organically. And you people are a big part of that. Your chats and your reviews, your comments, your donations are a big part of that, and it's really wonderful to be in the center of it all to help make it happen. And it is truly a special channel, I'm told, a unique landscape of free speech and of discussion on YouTube, and it's you people who make it happen, and you have my deepest thanks. Chose the last one, unhinged Hey, Michael Matthew. Yes, the unhinged thumbnail. People enjoy those a great deal. Right now, 5 votes in. We have 60% say that it's silly, 20% say that it's stupid, 20 other percent not stupid, silly, or idiotic enough. And so idiotic right now is dead last. So we'll see how the poll goes. You know, I'll keep it up for a while. All right, a couple of comments. Joseph said, how can halacha, rabbinic law, not have figured out the Nazarite vow by now? It's in Tanakh, right? It's in the Bible. It was done in both temples, period. So you'd think they'd know a lot about it. And which I told him, yes, the letter of the law is known. There is a difference of opinion on whether or not the Samson Nazariteship is a proper one back when the halachic debate was going on. But halacha stated, yes, the Samson Nazariteship is one. There is a debate on whether or not a Nazarite for a set period of time may shave the hair and bring offerings. The halachas are known. The rabbinic law, the regulations, by and large, to a great degree, are indeed known, whether it's the Rambam, Maimonides, who brings it down, or whether it's others who enumerate the commandments and specify the rabbinic law, the halachas that pertain to it. I told him, because it is rare, because it is involving a vow, and because we have no temple, mainstream Orthodox Judaism doesn't take too kindly to Nazarites. Mainstream rabbis and halachic rulers do not take too kindly to Nazarites, right? Rabbinic law, by and large, is more, it discourages taking vows and oaths and things of that nature. And it's frowned upon, it's ridiculed by some, it's forbidden totally by others, but nevertheless, the Nazariteship is here to stay. Big Stewarick says, can I get a birthday shout out from my friend Dan Glee Balls? Yes, you can. 40 today. All right. So, I mean, as you age, I mean, 40, he's 40 today. I'll bet he does have some dangly balls. Now, it has to do, right, the scrotum, right, it sags down, right? There's gravity involved. It hangs outside of the body, so the sperm will be a few degrees cooler, or some amount of centigrade cooler. And so, I will give a birthday shout out to Dangly Balls, and also a birthday shout out to D's Nuts. Hey, Soren Pinchy is here. Is it Pinchy or Pinky? Shalom Nazarong. Hey, Robert Harrison. Good to see you again. What are your thoughts about the multiverse? Weirdo asks. That I'm a fan. I believe we are part of a multiverse of multiverses. What do you think about Hinduism? Asra says. Well, I've read some of the Vedas, and I've read some of the Ayurveda medicine lore, and I'm very fond of it. I'm not a polytheistic individual. I believe in the one Hebrew God. But as far as faith is concerned, the universality, the oneness of all things, the Hindu faith certainly has a lot to say about that, and it has my respects in that from that angle, in that That's the word I'm looking for. Anyway, yes, I don't know much about Hinduism, but what I do know really does speak to me. Skate says shalom, shalom, shalom to you. To order, Moses circumcises 1.5 billions. Order? Like order up, cheeseburger, cheeseburger, cheeseburger. Do you know what an amygdala hijack is? WB says, so the amygdala, if I'm not mistaken, is the fear center of the brain. It's a tiny little thing, but it has a lot of control. An amygdala hijack, I would think, well, it's not just the fear center. It's in charge of a couple of other things, but I know that the amygdala, even though it's very small, like what, the size of a walnut or something like that? Maybe I'm mixing it up with a different gland, but the amygdala, I probably did know at some point what an amygdala hijack is, but right now, offhand, no, I do not know. WB, it's good to see you again. If it is indeed the same WB, what is an amygdala hijack? I'd love to know. Please enlighten me. Would you rather fight an alien or a gorilla? Oof. I mean, a gorilla would just tear me to pieces, no time flat. In that sense, it would be a quick and painless death. Painful for a time, but then pretty painless. No, actually, it would be very painful. Presumably, it would rip my limbs off, eventually only getting to my vital organs. An alien would probably have some sort of technology to zap me, evaporate me. Alien, I'd fight the alien. I'd fight the alien. What do you people think? Would you fight an alien or would you fight a gorilla? What do you think of Islam, Zach Labs? I don't know too much about Islam, and I will turn my attention to the Quran and the Hadith and the teachings of Muhammad after there is peace and justice, dare I say even love, in the region between Israel and its neighbors. Dog Woman. Hi, Dog Woman. Did God create mankind knowing man would fall from grace and cast into damnation and suffering? Well, first of all, this is not a place of damnation and suffering. This is a world of knowledge of good and evil, where we are to merit the return back to Eden, to merit partaking of the fruit of the tree of life. Now, the actual fall began not on the sixth day. The fall began truly on the third day, when the earth, from whence man came later on, the earth itself sinned on the third day of creation. Instead of bringing forth fruit trees bearing fruit, it brought forth fruit-bearing trees, and in doing so it missed the mark, meaning that later on the sixth day, when mankind was created with the element of earth inside of us, we were already created with that sort of proclivity, even if it's only a potential, of sinning, of missing the mark, of going astray, of not doing precisely what we were told. That element of earth that is within us already had that from the third day, right? So, did God create mankind? I do not know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. Now, if we look at the Lurianic breaking of the vessels, now I'm not a Lurianic Kabbalist, right? I did study some Lurianic Kabbalah in the past. Nowadays, I'm studying different sorts of Kabbalah, but in the Lurianic teachings, there is that idea of the breaking of the vessels, right? There were these vessels that a lot of light was poured into them, and they could not stand it, and so they shattered. The idea is that we are here to make the vessels whole again. Not only will we go back to the baseline of where we were, but we will make them better than they were and able to take that light and actually sustain it and be even greater than they were before. In the very same way, that fall from grace, not into damnation and suffering, but into a world of knowledge and good and evil. Is there some damnation and suffering involved in this world? Indubitably, yes. Undoubtedly, yes. Is it a place necessarily of damnation and suffering? No. But there is definitely that potential and that random chaotic element, of bad things happen to good people and so on. I do not know the divine calculations. I do not know precisely how it all goes down. But to relegate this place simply to damnation and suffering, no, I disagree with that, like on general principle. As for God knowing, right? Knowing that they will fall from grace, knowledge is one of the divine attributes. There is the divine attribute called knowledge. So there was that idea, but I don't know God, and so I cannot fully answer. Arknoid. How do you inflate a baseless currency, sir? Do you know? No, I don't know how to inflate a baseless currency. And then another question I have for you is, how do you bankrupt a baseless currency? Thank you for your time. I do not know. I'm not a man of finance, and I'm not a man of any sort of currency understanding, right? I have no knowledge in anything, really. Certainly not in matters of currency and finance. Science has proven that the human body emits light while alive. Terry Cover, that makes absolute sense to me. It makes absolute sense. Soviet Kong, good to see you, man. You mentioned Tommy the other day. I am very much not into The Who, but Overture Through Christmas is an all-time great segment of an album. Yes. Do 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 do. You should play it in the background now. No, I don't think I will. People are still falling asleep, into deeper sleep. I put the kids to bed, but they need some time to fall asleep, deeper into sleep. John Smith, hey John, you wear glasses, brush your teeth, using the internet and technology, but you draw the Jewish line on combing your hair. Yes, for I am a Nazarite who has taken a Nazarite vow, so I'm not allowed to comb or brush my hair. That is true. What do you say about Palestina? Daniel says that we need peace and prosperity and, dare I say, even love with our neighbors. That's what I think. What do you think about Kabbalah splitting Hashem into male and female essences? Joseph, that is not what is done at all. All God is unknown. What is known is the divine emanations, the divine revelations, the clothing through which God is revealed in the world, so to speak. Those 10 emanations are not splitting God. Think of it as pure white light. Pure white light has a spectrum. It's broken when it goes through a prism. It's broken when it goes through a raindrop, right? And you see the rainbow in the sky. In the very same way, there is that place that light comes from, unknowable, unthinkable. That is God. The light is the divine revelation, and the breaking of it up into the 10 sfirot, into the divine emanations, right, of the 10 sfirot of the Kabbalistic tree of life, can be seen as the spectrum of light that we see, right? So you have the unknown, where light comes from. You have the known, which is a pure beam of light, and you have the disintegration into the revelation that we perceive here in all the colors of the rainbow and everything therein, within the spectrum of, what would it be? The spectrum of light that we can perceive. So Kabbalah does not split Hashem into male and female essences at all. Hashem is unsplittable. Hashem is one, unknowable, unthinkable, untouchable, inconceivable, and we cannot know God. All we know is how God is revealed in the world. The revelation of God is the higher and lower, masculine and feminine. The revelation of God is judgment and mercy and kindness. The revelation of God is in all those 10 sfirot, all the different worlds, all the different ways through which God is revealed in the world. But all of those revelations, attributes, emanations, garments, they are not God. They are simply how God is revealed in the world, in the very same way that I'm being projected digitally to your screen right now. The audio is coming through in your earbuds or your speaker, but it's not truly me. It's not truly my voice. It's electrical signals. It's zeros and ones. It's pixels. And yet it also is me, because I'm here live, raw, from Jerusalem, broadcasting right now. And so there are some things that are discernible. There are some things where you can relate. There are some things when you can find a connection, and still it's not me. You're not literally watching me and my physical body. Okay. If they found the tabernacle, Joseph says, we could just pop it back up and get rolling. You know what? I'm inclined to say halachically no, biblically yes. That's, I think, what I would say, because ever since the temple was built, the tabernacle, right, was put away, and it was in Gilgal, it was in Shiloh, it was in Giv'on, it was in Nov, I think, those 4 places. And then when the Temple of Solomon was built, all of those things were set aside, and all of the treasures and all of the artifacts were brought into the Temple of Solomon. And before that, the city of David, right? The city of David, before the temple was built. And so it wouldn't be just as easy as that, though it probably should be. Probably should be. Terry says we are literally the universe experiencing itself. Yes, it is. We are the universe asking itself why. That's right, that's right. That hairline is going from river to sea. Thank you, Prince Tantley. It's true. Does God require servitude? No, God does not require anything, because that would denote a kind of lack that needs something that needs to be filled if there is a requirement. But there are divine revelations that we need to relate to. There are divine emanations that we need to emulate and mirror. And with the degradation of the generations throughout the course of history, animal sacrifices and different things like the candelabra and the incense and the bread, all of that became something that is meant to bring about the unity of the divine masculine and feminine presence. But go back to Eden and you will see it was very simple. Humanity, nature, and the divine revelation, no altar, no sacrifices. The requirement was wait. have patience, have humility. That was the only requirement of mankind at the time, to be patient and to be humble and to wait until the Sabbath in order to partake of the fruit of the tree of life. Alas, that did not happen, and before the Sabbath was able to come in, we had missed the mark and had jumped the gun, and now are in a world between worlds, awaiting that Edenic Sabbath to earn it through our actions, to partake eventually of the fruit of the tree of life when that Sabbath comes in. How do I turn my wife into a pillar of salt, says Geld? I do not know. I mean, presumably there is one way, but I don't recommend it. When did you leave Nigeria, says AK? I was never in Nigeria, or maybe you're talking to someone in the chat. So, carry on. Joseph says this white light is unknowable, but has revealed himself in very specific ways through the scripture. Kabbalah defines aspects of God in ways that are not found in the Torah. No, they actually are found in the Torah in the esoteric meanings, right? I mean, all of the 10 sfirot are in the phrase Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. All 10 sfirot are there. Meaning, if you look at it insofar as the attributes have names and nicknames, what is called Arichei Hakinuyim, then you will see that the 10 sfirot are there in the first verse of the Bible, and that is what Tikkunei HaZohar is all about. Do you believe in the afterlife? Miller Moore, the afterlife is exactly that. What people consider afterlife is the after death. The afterlife is, in the Hebrew faith, the world to come after we partake of the fruit of the tree of life. Creation phase 2, humanity phase 2, where everything will be elevated, where we, God willing, will arrive at the gates of Eden, at the path, put under guard, but never forbidden. And that is the true afterlife. Divine unity, says Anonymous. Hey, good to see you again, Anonymous. Scrolling down. Lao Svein says, yes, they live by personal rules. Just ask Yahweh, what is this fuel for? You're alive? Just pray and fast for certain time. So he sees you really want truth from Yahweh. I don't quite know what you're talking about. Maybe you're talking to someone in the chat. Coca-Cola, good to see you again. I'm starting a GoFundMe to build a time machine and travel back to Germany 1932 so I can vote. That is a noble and lofty goal. If you do actually construct a time machine, don't forget to go back to Dr. Stephen Hawking's party. So Dr. Stephen Hawking famously threw a time traveler's party, and only after the party sent out the invitations, and in the party, nobody showed up. It was just, just an experiment that he ran. But I love the idea. All right, what do I have? I have Darjeeling tea. Oh God, yes, still a little too hot. Let's wait for it. What's your religion, K2? I'm a Hebrew man. What is your religion, K2? Joseph says this is a great example of Judaism shoving more meaning into a text rather than letting the text teach you. No, I don't think so. I think both of those things exist. You can definitely let the text teach you, and you can definitely find meanings. It's not even reading between the lines. It's this idea of the text having meaning in and of itself on different levels, right? There are 4 categories or levels of understanding Torah, of learning Torah, of teaching Torah, right? Pshat, Remez, Drash, Sod, right? You have the simple surface level understanding, you have the esoteric understanding, and in between those you have the metaphor, right? The allusion. So it's not a great example of Judaism shoving more meaning. The meaning is baked right in. The Torah that you and I know in the text is but the last stop, right? It's the physical manifestation of something spiritual. Consider what is said, Istakel be'oraita ubara alma. God looked into the Torah and created the world in the very same way that the 10 sfirot are a blueprint of everything and all creation, and of the image of God in which we are created. The Torah itself is also a blueprint of the world. And the Zohar famously says that the entirety of the Torah is names of the Holy One, blessed be He. Now, you can choose not to rule halacha according to the Zohar, and that's usually what's practiced. Not to rule rabbinic law according to Zohar, because people say, no, it's shoving meaning where maybe it's not there, and you can't use Kabbalah to actually make halacha for the masses. Fine, let's grant that proposition. But to say that it's shoving meaning, no, the meaning is baked right in there, because the physical scroll of the Torah has a spiritual, esoteric root. And so if you only look at the surface level, you're missing a great deal of what the Torah is originally, and how it came down the chain of creation all the way down here to be in its physical form on animal skin, parchment with ink. You see what I'm saying? It's a highly physical thing, but it has a spiritual root, in the very same way that there's body and soul of the human being, or spirit, animating force, chi, energy, whatever you want to call it. The Torah itself also has that. This you can also see in the scroll of the Torah. The scroll of the Torah has the letters, and it has the crowns. It does not have the punctuation or the melody marks. That the human being brings. So you can see that it is to some degree insufficient and needs completion. Something like that. So it's sort of the same thing. But you feel free to think that it's shoving where it's just sort of shoving it in. That's fine. Cherfron says religion teaches you to limit your life preparing for a theoretical life after real life. No, I don't think so at all. It teaches you to limit your life in order for you to become more disciplined and walk a path. Taking on a burden, taking on a yoke, seeing beyond yourself has a lot of merit. Now, obviously, there is that part of religion that is there oppressive and controlling and very, very corrupt, or has the proclivity or the capacity, the potential to become corrupt and to corrupt others? Yes, no doubt. But religion teaches you to limit your life in certain ways to give you the ultimate freedom, because discipline equals freedom. Now, this is not necessarily true across the board, and you will find times when people take it too far. This is also why I do not keep strict rabbinic law any longer, or part of the reason. But it does limit your life in certain aspects, yet gives you the ultimate freedom, the ultimate liberty. And it's not just a theoretical life after real life. It's making your life here and now a life of purpose, a life of meaning, a life of significance, a life of doing good deeds. Yes, and I know one person's good deeds is another person's atrocity. Besides, I mean, that aside, and that does exist, generally speaking, religion is here to facilitate the spiritual connection between creation and creator. That's all that it is, right? You have that spiritual connection, and then you have religion, which may or may not come into your life, that has the rules and regulations and the path, practically speaking, to facilitate that connection and to cause you, to help you, to look outside yourself, expand your awareness, right? Well, hey, are you done? Let's keep an eye on your time, baby boy. Okay, let us continue. I didn't know settlers were also active in Jerusalem. Well, Jerusalem is not a settlement, good to see you again, but active in Jerusalem, I suppose, when they do come into the city, yes. How much pot you smoke, hippie? None, Miller time. I do not partake any longer. When I did partake, I would take a puff or two from a joint at night, and that would be it, usually. So, once again, I mentioned marijuana, or you did. So, respect the herb, respect your body, respect your mind, set and setting, right? Be a high-functioning stoner, not a low-functioning pothead, and integrate, integrate, integrate. Corruption is all that religion offers. I really don't agree with you and monotheism. I agree that there is the proclivity, the tendency even for corruption that's baked in because it's man-made by people for people. It may have a divine root. It may come from a divine revelation, but it's by people for people. And as such, in a world of good and evil, it could go just as well into evil rather than good. So the potential definitely is there for corruption, controlling, all of that, right? The opiate for the masses, of the masses, but it's not all religion offers, in my humble and foolish and naive opinion. Hey, Shavua Tov, brother. Hey, Ruby Wart, how you doing? You don't need religion to be a good person. I never claimed you do. All I said is that it can facilitate that to the degree that you are able to look outside of yourself and to connect yourself with something greater than you, something larger than you, something that was before you and will live on after you, so to speak. It helps you to broaden your horizons, and it helps you to be less of an egocentric. It helps you, especially if you're part of a community, a collective, a group, then you're lacking, you're insufficient in some ways, you're faulty in some ways, you have limitations, you have constraints, something that another person might not, meaning that you are able to be a whole that is greater than the sum of its parts. And that's also something religion can definitely bring into the picture. So I'm all for that. Hey, PW is here, your dumb brain. Yes, I do have a dumb brain. That's definitely true. Religion always leads to tyranny. Again, I disagree. There is the tendency towards tyranny and controlling and corrupting people and, right, all of that dominating people. It's all there. All of it is there, absolutely 100%. What is also there is wonder, kindness, grace, benevolence, love, charity, discipline. Those are all very good things. Those are all very good attributes, right? To live a life of simplicity and humility and righteousness, I don't see a harm in that. Of course, yes, like I said, one person's righteous deed is another person's atrocity. But generally speaking, very generally speaking, in a very broad way, I think those are good attributes. And you could choose to focus on the negative or you could choose to focus on the positive. I choose, just for me, to focus on the positive while not turning a blind eye in the least to the negative aspects of religion and organized religion. JD says, Guru Zeo Nazi has advice for you. Well, I'm not a guru if you're talking to me, nor am I a Nazi, nor do I dispense advice, really. I mean, if people ask me something, I'll address it, but it's not really advice. I'm in no place to give advice. Okay. Understand that you think, says Joseph, that you can read the Torah esoterically, and that these teachings naturally follow from that esoteric reading. However, I disagree with your premise. I, of course, understand. But let's put it this way. Do you concur with the idea, Joseph, that Torah is something that preceded the world? Or do you think it merely only exists in its physical form as a scroll of parchment or a book? Is that the only manifestation of Torah, in your opinion? Of written Torah, forget oral Torah for now and all the other things, is that physical scroll, that parchment of dead animal, right, leather that's been taken care of and been treated with different things to make it into parchment, and then a scribe took a quill, right, also from an animal, and ink, and wrote upon it. Is that the only manifestation of written Torah? Also, if you do believe that Torah was given from Mount Sinai, and that Moses, the lawgiver, was that great bridge between worlds who was able to ascend and descend, where is it that you see it turning completely physical? So physical that you claim that the very premise of having an esoteric meaning or esoteric teaching that I think naturally follows, or doesn't even follow, it's the predecessor, right? It's the precursor to the physical, and you say, nope, that's just shoving things in there that are not written there, and it's not the way that you think. Where do you think the physical, where does the rubber meet the road? Right? Where did it go from being a spiritual thing, a revelation that has not yet come to pass, to given to Moses, right? Where was that? Okay. Rochester says, Yuval, there is none. There's a Yuval here. Hi, Yuval Chasson. Are you against the genocide in Gaza? I don't think there's a genocide going on in Gaza. So if there is a genocide going on, I am against it. But there is no genocide going on in Gaza. AA says, great to see you today. Good to see you, AA. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. Oh yeah. Let's continue. Rochester, I'm saying it as a Jew, by the way, says Yuval. AA says, how do you think that education should work to prevent intolerance of becoming the norm? Well, there's a lot of benefits to being part of the norm. I think you need to be part of the norm, but know when to break away from the norm. So, education that would prevent intolerance of becoming the norm? How do you think that education should work to prevent intolerance of becoming the norm? Okay. I got that now. So you should be part of the norm, but the norm should not be intolerance. How do you educate people? I mean, look, I'll go to my parents. My parents taught me from a very young age, everybody is equal, treat others with respect, at least until they give you a reason not to do so. Treat people the way you would want to be treated, right? And what did Hillel tell the convert? Right? He told them, what you hate, do not do unto your fellow. That is the entirety of the Torah. The rest of it is commentary. Go and learn it. You look like the villain of Smurfen. I don't know what Smurfen is, Solid Owl. Good to see you again. I think you've been here before. Thomas says you can follow any religion, but not follow the divisions rules. I believe in God, but no divisions. Well, I don't believe God is divided. I believe the divine revelation is divided. The divine emanations are broken up, right? And when we gave the example of the rainbow, how, right, you have the place where light comes from, then you have the place of light that is there but that you cannot see, and then you have the broken light that you can see. Your parents are retarded and cousins. No, Kirsten Panda. My parents, oh, I'm sorry, he said restarted. My bad. Your parents are restarted and cousins. Well, they're not cousins, I know that for a fact. They come from different tribes. As for being restarted, I'm assuming you wanted to write retarded. And no, they are actually very wise, both of them, each in their own way. Hmm. Loud says, I like that comment. I enjoy Jewish mysticism and Kabbalah, but I am Lebanese Maronite. May I ask what the opinion is of us with Semitic ancestry? Ooh, emanations, so nice. I can't tell you because I don't know too much at all about the Lebanese Maronites. I have heard of them. One or two have popped in the chat, but I never did any kind of a deep dive into what others think of them or what I have not gathered enough information to have any opinion that's well-rounded enough to blurt it out, right? So I'm sorry, I don't know. Yuval says, how can you call yourself a religious man? I don't call myself a religious man. In fact, I call myself just a Hebrew man. I don't consider myself Orthodox any longer. I grew up Orthodox in Jerusalem, and I no longer keep strict halacha. So where exactly do I call myself a religious man? Don't put words in my mouth, Yuval. As for okay with a genocide of hundreds of thousands, I'm not. And do you know how it's funny how the numbers jump. Oh, it's 70,000. No, 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 it's 700,000. No, 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 it's 700 billion. Yeah, yeah. I'm not okay with genocide, but what's going on is a defensive war against a bloodthirsty, warmongering terrorist regime, not a genocide. The actions don't denote a genocide, right? The intent is not genocidal, and the numbers also don't equate it to a genocide. So wrong on all counts. Let's continue. Good question, says Joseph. The Torah itself is not divine. God is divine. When I read the Torah, the special and divine component of the experience is the divine words given by God, not the physical medium. So you do agree that there were words given by the divine revelation of speech, for all intents and purposes, at Sinai. Whether it was the assembly at the mountain, or whether it was Moses that received it on top of the mountain at the summit of Sinai, you do agree that there is a divine component, a special and divine component. Okay, so that special and divine component, as far as you're concerned, it just was special and divine immediately into the physical, immediately with nothing in between. That's your contention? Because that's, I think, where we differ. Renee ain't doing too good. Sorry, Renee. I hope you do better. So you really think the Israelis are the original Jews of the Bible? I think we are part of the original Jews of the Bible, Omar. I think there are many, also, it's not original Jews. The Jews are just the kingdom of Judah, right? That's two and a half tribes, basically, right? Of Benjamin, Judah, and Levi. There's also the kingdom of Israel, the 10 lost tribes, as it were, that were exiled by the king of Assyria before Babylon. So I think the Israelis, who are Hebrews, converts, or, not the converts, but original Jews. I don't go with that original Jew, real Jew, fake Jew business, not at all. If you're born to a Hebrew mother, you are halachically Jewish by rabbinic law. If you were born to a Hebrew father, you're technically of the seed of Israel, because that only went from the father to the mother at the time of the return from Babylon. And before that, the religious affiliation and tribal affiliation went through the father. And so you have the religious or faith affiliation through the mother, the tribal affiliation through the father, and if you convert, then you convert, and you have no specific tribe. But I do think that the Israeli Jews are the original part of the original Hebrew people and the remnants of the kingdom of Judah. That's what I think, yes. Of course, many converts have joined over the years, and a lot of the gene pool, right, was enriched by all of these converts. They are still 100% Jewish. Are they the original Jewish kingdom of the Bible? Maybe not, but they have clinged to them. They have cleaved to them. They have fused themselves to the Hebrew tribes, and as such are 100% Hebrew. There's a very deep hell for people like him, says Yuval. Are you talking about me? I don't believe in hell. Judaism has no hell, but okay, that's cool. Of overall, I've seen sub-average, says PW. What are you talking about, man? Pokemon Florida says, get a job. Yes, indeed. I was let go of my job a week ago. My company, not my company, the company I worked for over a decade was bought by a different company. So I am on the lookout for a job, sending out resumes, got my CV in order, got my portfolio in order. Incidentally, if you need a writer, creative, marketing, blogging, editing, I'm your man. Get in touch. Conan the Destroyer is here. You was working on Sabbath. No, I was not, Michael. The Sabbath ended at around 8:15 p.m. and I went live around 9:30 or 10 p.m. So you're mistaken and you probably cannot tell time in Israel because you're used to telling time where you are. So maybe you were watching a screen on Shabbat. I do not use the screens, tablets, computers, phones on the Sabbath unless there is an emergency or an ongoing war. So I was not working on the Sabbath. That is incorrect. I keep the Sabbath. It is one of my favorite covenants, and I do not work on the Sabbath ever. There were times in the military where I was forced to do my job. Other than that, in my civilian life, I've never worked on the Sabbath ever, not even once. So that's false. Don't spread lies. It's not becoming of you, Michael. SR says, hey SR, hell is the eternal separation of God and all his goodness. It is the void of all things that are good of God. So there is that idea of a kind of purgatory, if you will, right? Gehinam, where you experience the separation of what could have been, right? Knowing everything that you could have done, and yet seeing where you are. And it's that separation and the idea that you won't be able to bridge that gap until you are done with the cleansing, purification, purgation process. That in itself is the greater hell, so they say. But Jews have no eternal damnation. Jews have no eternal bliss. What we have are waiting rooms called Gehinam and Eden. They are both waiting rooms, right, on the way to partaking of the fruit of the tree of life. Looky, this weirdo. Hey, PW. Yes, indeed, if you're talking about me. Speaking of being a weirdo, let's go to the poll. 157 votes in. What do you think of the thumbnail? 46% of you say it's not stupid, silly, or idiotic enough. 25% say it's silly, 21% say it's stupid, and 9% say it's idiotic. Idiotic has been trailing behind the entire time. The entire time. You created hell in Gaza, says Yuval. False. Hamas did, because there was a unilateral withdrawing from Gaza with the disengagement in 2005. Hamas was democratically elected in 2006. They could have simply went on their merry way and actually turned Gaza into a seaside paradise, as I'm fond of saying, but they decided to take all the money, steal it from their people. They decided to continue living, leaving their population living in squalor, poverty, and the lowest quality of life, all the while blaming the Zionist pig dog occupier colonial settlers, of course. And they decided to continuously attack Israel, instigate battle after battle, skirmish after skirmish, eventually invading and causing this war. That is all to be laid at the feet of Hamas, because Israel disengaged from Gaza, and they could have done whatever. The first thing Hamas did was destroy all of the infrastructure that the Israelis left there, which kind of gives you an idea of where they are at. Also, the original Hamas charter says this explicitly. They don't want a Palestinian state. Palestine and a Palestinian state is not mentioned even once. The state of Palestine is not mentioned. What is mentioned is eradicating Israel. So, Yuval, I would look into the history. Yes, says Joseph, the Torah lived in the mind of God. See, once again, that means that you think that God has a mind. I don't. I think that the mind of God is the divine revelations of Chokhmah Binah Da'at, but God has no mind. In the very same way that God has no ears, God has no nose, God has no fingers, and yet all of these things are specified in the Torah, as if God is anthropomorphic, right? As if the Torah is indeed anthropomorphizing God, and you need, in order to not go astray, you really do need that understanding of those attributes pertaining to divine revelations and emanations, and that there is no God in flesh. Unless you are a Christian, Joseph, and you might be, in the Hebrew faith there is no God in flesh. So, spoken to Moses, then was preserved by God, very specific words with very specific and limited meanings. The Torah does not have infinite meanings. Well, the Torah does not have infinite meanings. I'm inclined to agree. It does have a multiplicity of meanings, and that's why we have also the oral Torah in order to actually carry out halacha by people, for the Torah was given to humankind. The Torah was given to Israel to keep and carry out and perform. Exactly because of that, right? Moses tells them it's not across the great sea and it's not up in the sky. It's here, right? It's in your heart. It's on your lips to perform it, to carry it out, to do it. It's a Torah of doing. Let us continue. It's not any of the people's fault on both sides, says Nessa. No, the people know. The leadership, yes, I agree, Nessa. I agree. Oy vey, says perplexed gorilla. Well, if you're perplexed, I could see why you would say oy vey. Haganop says if Jews were truly completely alien to the Middle East and were Polish interlopers, why do Muslims constantly chant Kaibal Kaibal and bring up ancient curses? Very good. Yes, very good. That is also true. Yeah, they like to have it both ways, these terrorist sympathizers. Please don't hate me, I have ADHD, says Connor. I don't hate you. That's okay. Jesus was hung on a tree, not on a cross, says Team Hype TV. So, wait, after the crucifixion? Or do you think there was no crucifixion whatsoever? And wasn't the cross made of wood? I think. There's no such thing as the Middle East, says Team Hype. Interesting. Well, what is there then? What do you call it? The Levant? Oh, pardon me. Just Dorian says, you and peoples like you will cry in hell. So once again, there is no hell in the Hebrew faith, so too bad for you, unfortunately for you. Free Palestine, he says, I agree. Free Palestine from Hamas. Free Palestine from the piece of shit terrorism. Yeah, free them from their religious extremist oppressors. Free them from the people who are using them as cannon fodder, as human shields, who are bringing about their own misery and their own destruction and their own demise, all the time decrying the Zionist. And Muslims, yes, there's nothing wrong with Muslims. There is something wrong with the Palestinian leadership. I'll tell you that. Hey, jackass, nice shave. Thanks, 90 Grind 989. Thank you, I appreciate that. It is a nice shave, I agree. In fact, I've never shaved. This is my original growth. Keegan says, religion is, I think you've been here before. Hi, Keegan, or somebody else close to that username. Hello, hi. Religion is very outdated in some ways, sure. I wish people made up another religion that supports both equal rights and freedom. Current religion locks people up with all its rules and supports abuse on women. That is making a really broad generalization, and I don't agree with it whatsoever. There are religions indeed that lock people up. There are religions that do not offer equal rights and freedom. The thing is, again, discipline will bring you the greatest freedom, right? Embracing a path, taking on a yoke, carrying a burden. This is what will give you the ultimate liberty. That is part of what religion is about. I think he's at the skate park. Hey, great notices here. Can I get proof hell doesn't exist? I have some enemies I want to get rid of. No, there is no proof. It's simply the Hebrew tradition. Joseph says, genuine question. I understand that you think God does not have a mind in the limited human way. Would you say that God is personable? Or would you describe God as a divine abstract force? None of those things, because those things are words that we use to convey a meaning. If we can speak of it, if we can... Precisely. Yeah, thank you, my boy. If we can speak of it, if we can discern it, if we can relate to it, if we can understand it or perceive it or relate to it in any of our senses, physical or spiritual or metaphysical, it is by definition not God, but a way through which God is revealed in the world. That's what it is, right? God is unknowable, unthinkable, untouchable, unfathomable, inconceivable. That's the divine, something that I will never know. The way that I can relate to the divine is the same way that you are relating to me right now, through intermediary, right? Through some sort of a middle thing, right? So over here, it's the zeros and ones and the pixels and the sound waves coming out of your earbud or speaker. And with the divine, it's the 10 sfirot and the divine revelation, right? The garments, the clothing through which God is revealed in the world. Just like I am revealed right now with this purple shirt and this particular body with this particular beard and these particular spectacles. Boink. Hey, Rachum Bechanun is here. רציתי לשאול, אתה מכיר את נזירות ביתא ישראל? So Beta Israel are the Ethiopians, if I'm not mistaken. That's Beta Israel, the Ethiopian Hebrews. I do not know any Nazarite Ethiopian Hebrews, Ethiopian Jews. I would love to. Could you make the introduction, Rachum Bechanun? I would love that if you could make the introduction. I bet Jerusalem's skate punks are crazy. I don't know. I mean, my boy is a good he's a good skateboarder. He's a good skateboarder. Jeff Unson says, seems people are here just to argue and show their ignorance. I mean, arguments can lead eventually to good things, but if it's simply people spewing their ignorance and not lending an ear, and I put myself in that as well, then it's just another blah 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 blue, and it all becomes a pissing contest. And I do not wish for this channel to be a pissing contest, right? We are here to have discourse. We are here to have dialogue. We are here to engage with each other, maybe find some common ground, maybe bridge some gaps, maybe have some embrace our similarities and not our differences and discover that, hey, you know what? We're really the same in some ways. That can bring about a lot of good things, you know? Team Hype says, you don't deal with fake Jew or original Jew because you are a fake Jew. Wow, Team Hype, that is really logical. You are cognitively dissonant. First of all, it could very well be that I'm cognitively dissonant. But second of all, once again, let's look at the facts. A religious Jew, born to Jewish parents in Israel, religious, brought up religious in Jerusalem, keeping the Torah, keeping the commandments, circumcised, bar mitzvahed, married under the chuppah, took a Nazarite vow. I think that makes me pretty Jewish, even if you don't think that I am, historically, religiously, halachically, on all of those, on any spectrum of analysis that you would bring and to bear on the situation, on any spectrum of analysis that you could possibly fathom, I am, much to your chagrin, a Hebrew man, a simple Hebrew dumbass in the Middle East. You seem to have a great problem with that. So, the fact that there's cognitive dissonance, that of course does, of course I have some cognitive dissonances, but this is not one of them. It's simply not. Stupid, idiotic rabbis and their idiotic opinions have confused the whole world. So yes, you're not the only one to think that stupid, idiotic rabbis have confused the whole world. The thing is that I don't rely on them to such a degree that they overtake my own, perhaps faulty and misguided ideas. What is it, baby?
Two switches next to the bathroom, right? One is for the light and the other one is for?
The other light that's not on right now.
No.
What is it, dude?
There are two switches.
Well, get to the point, my dear.
Both of the switches were on.
That's fine. That's fine. It's all good. No. Are you talking about the boiler light with the red light that pops on?
No.
You're talking just about the regular light switch?
Before the bathroom.
Kabara alecha takshiv li.
At the entrance to the bathroom.
No, it's fine. It's all good. Thank you. You look like someone who turns to God. Is this true? Hey, Jim Larson, I turn to the Most High God. That is partly what I do. That's part of what I've always done. That is true. Good day, sir. Hey, Scott Anderson. Womping time, says So-So. Yes, indeed. I met one of the last ones, and he lived in the wild, says Rachum V'Chanun. Wow. I've never met an Ethiopian Nazarite. That would be quite a thing. I would love to meet one. I think we would have a lot to talk about. Definitely. I think we would definitely have a lot to talk about. Ethiopian Jews... Oh, I'm sorry, the chat jumped. Here. Omar says, Ethiopian Jews were given jabs to stop them from having babies, true or not? No, I think the Ethiopian Jews, when they first made Aliyah and ascended to Israel, they were mistreated. As for to stop them having babies, that is not correct. There is this myth that people were sterilized. I don't think that has any merit or any leg to stand on whatsoever. I'm pretty sure that's misinformation, disinformation, whatever you want to call it, or some sort of a conspiracy theory. What is not a conspiracy theory is that the government and the religious authorities definitely mistreated them upon their arrival in different ways, but castration or sterilization I don't think was one of those ways. No, I don't think so. Hey, Walter White is in the chat. Good to see you again, Walter. Good to see you again. Tenebris says that's a lie. What's a lie? Are you talking to someone in the chat, Tenebris? Just imagine the smell in his room, says Zach. Yes, let's imagine it. Take a couple of seconds. What is it that you see in your mind's eye? What is the smell here in this room? Because right now it smells like tea. Tea and no, that's it. I just smell the tea. Not because it's right under my schnoz. I mean, also when it was a little far away, I still smelled the tea. And other than that, there is no compelling or rampant scent. What about my BO? No. No. Very mild. Very mild. Okay. Psycho says, go back to Germany. I've never been to Germany, so I can't very well go back. Your cup looks freaky, says Lumiere. Hi, Lumiere. Maybe it is a little freaky. Maybe. Franz says, long live the Catholic Church. Indeed, it has lived a long time. Do you burn incense? Michael, I haven't burned incense in a very long time. In a very long time. It's been probably years. Fad says, smells like lentil soup. No, but I did have the lentil soup last night. Leave the guy alone and stick to the idea, not personal attacks and monotheism. I deeply appreciate it, but part of me putting myself out here live means that I will be personally attacked. And the people with the ad hominems, I love them. I love the vitriol hurlers. I love the insult, I love the accusers and the allegations. I love them all, the Nazis and the spammers and the trolls and and the good people, right? Every sub, every like, every view, every comment, everything. I love it all. It's all very much appreciated. I don't take it for granted that I push go live and there's a conversation here and there are people here, there's an energy here, over 80 people, 45 likes. It's no small thing, not even a little bit. And I'm greatly appreciative of anybody who shows up here, whether they scroll away in horror after a couple of seconds, or whether they stick around for the long haul and become regular viewers, and anything in between is genuinely and greatly appreciated. And those that are spewing their ad hominems and their personal attacks, that's good. Let them get it out of their system, I say, that maybe they will be able to take something else into their vessel, right into the vessel of their being. Maybe some kindness, maybe some grace, maybe some love, some positivity, some benevolent force to right? Because nature abhors a vacuum. And so if they get all the toxicity and right, send it my way. Send me all of your ad hominems, all of your insults, all of your allegations, accusations, and all of the naysayers are welcome here. No mods, no bans, no timeouts. It's just a free-range chat, so go nuts. Let us continue. The Nazarite Israel, they made miracles in Ethiopia. They performed miracles. Do you have any example? I would love to know, Achum Bechanun. I would really love to know. Lumiere says, this guy is a great Jew. I don't know your name, but God bless you. I'm Jonathan. That is my name. In Hebrew, it means God-given. That is the name that I was given. MM says, is it true that Tree of Life is connected with demon rituals? No, it is not. It is actually the Tree of Death, the counterpart to the Tree of Life, that is connected with the demon rituals. Now, there is that mirror, right, of the sacred, which is the dark side of the force, the Sitra Achra, the other side in Aramaic. But we are called to focus on life and not death. We are called to focus on the good and not the bad. We are called to focus on the benevolent and not the malevolent. And Moses makes this very clear. The Torah makes it very clear that we are to choose life when given the option. And the option is always there, pretty much always there. Bergworks says, do you equate opposition to the current Israeli government to being anti-Semitism? No, not even a little bit. You are definitely allowed and you are definitely encouraged to criticize the Israeli government, but do it with some discernment and don't simply swallow the tripe that the terrorists and the terrorist sympathizers are sending your way. Use your mind, use your brain, come to the conclusions that you may. And yes, definitely, the Israeli government should be criticized. The Israeli government, the establishment, the state, the army should be held accountable. Yes, definitely yes. Ghost says, if you're God's chosen, why are you bald? I don't consider myself to be God's chosen. I don't go with that God's chosen rhetoric. I believe the Hebrews were selected to keep the Torah and the commandments. They selected to keep the Torah and the commandments, and that we are no better than any other nation or people at all. We are just doing our thing, and other nations are doing their thing, not one greater or more superior, noble or important than the other. Now, why am I bald? Because of genetics. That's why. Hey, my woman is here. Robert Harrison gave her a shout out. Let's see. Where? Did I miss her? Where is she? I guess I missed her. All right. Raul Hanun says, whoa! There was an entire tribe, says Rachum V'Chanun, in Ethiopia that was forced to convert to Christianity. The entire tribe jumped into a pit, and where they jumped into, there was a wellspring. Interesting. Voila. Jesse says, facts are not accusations. Facts are facts. Oh, no. Definitely facts are facts. But I'm also being accused of all kinds of things along the way. So that's fine. Alex asks, what does your religion set your human future and its end? And how is it different from other religions? Well, first of all, I don't know how it's different. I don't know other religions to that degree. So I can't speak for them. As for human future, creation phase 2, after we partake of the fruit of the tree of life, and it's going to be a whole other type of existence. HW says to my woman, how are you feeling about your hubby's transition to a full-time live streamer? I haven't transitioned yet, but yeah, I do it almost every day. Where is she? I want to know. Where is she? Where is she? I don't know where she is, but okay. Hey, Nami, if you're here, hello. How you doing? Amina says, hello, I'm Muslim, but I'm sending greetings to you. Greetings to you. Salam alaikum. I wish for a peace in the world and people to coexist with kindness and peace. Have a nice rest of the day. God bless you. Thank you, Amina. I deeply appreciate that. A super chat came in. Incidentally, I will remind you that all of your super chats, super thanks, super stickers, ad revenue, whatever ends up in my bank account goes to charity today. 350 plus US dollars of your hard-earned money was given to 2 different organizations here in Jerusalem. You can take a look at the community tab on the channel to see the receipts, the analytics, my bank account, because I'm trying to be as transparent as I can about this. And it was given to Yad Eli and to, what was the other one? To Yad Eli and to Pantry Packers, who work with East and West Jerusalem, and they help the needy all over Yerushalayim. So thank you for that. What defines a Jew? What sets you apart when raw? Handling says, I'm not sure what you mean when raw. What defines a Jew? Well, being born to a Jewish mother, halachically, being born to a Jewish father, biblically, before the time of Ezra, or converting. That is what defines a Jew. That's the technicality. People might disagree, but that's technically what defines a Jew. Ezra Cohen says, Jonathan, it's time to teach the Gentiles history. I'm not a teacher. I'm a student. I'm a learner. But I appreciate the vote of confidence, Adon Kohen. They themselves don't know who they are. They are sick secularists. They're thirsty for vital information. Well, I don't see others as sick secularists. I think there are many benefits to secular living in the sense that take science and the Renaissance, right? And the fact that the Christian church, for all intents and purposes, was stifling science, and it was the Enlightenment, and it was a scientific revolution that has brought about this very device that I am broadcasting on. To say that people are sick secularists, I simply don't agree on general principle that secular equals sickness, nor do I think that they don't know history. I think that the floodgates of knowledge have been thrown wide open, and people only need to do a very quick search and maybe perhaps back it up with a book or two in order to know history. But precisely to the degree that knowledge and its gates have been open and thrown wide open, people are doing less and less investigating. People are learning less and less. The people's attention span, say the researchers, is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. But to say that, I mean, what is probably true is that people are thirsty for information. That probably is true across the board, not only for Gentiles or secular sick folk. I think it's everyone. I really do think it's everyone. How often do you wash your hair? Looks like a pain to wash. I shampoo. I mean, if it's dirty, I'll shampoo it right then and there when I arrive at home. But if it's... Oh, wait, I gotta answer the door. Be back in 10 seconds. Hello. Hey, hello. You're back. Both of you. That's nice. Where were we? How often do I wash? I shampoo once every couple of weeks. Okay, put on the AC if you want. And I condition every few weeks. Something like that. Paid membership. Hey, good to see you again. Doctors who worked in Gaza report a catastrophic collapse of the healthcare infrastructure, severe shortages of medicines and fuel, overwhelmed trauma units, and rising rates of miscarriages. Again, all of which can be laid at the feet of Hamas. You can't fault Israel for fighting a defensive war against a terrorist regime that wants to eradicate it and slaughter each and every man, woman, and child. You can't fault... No other nation would behave otherwise. No other group of people that have an instinct of self-preservation and survival would behave otherwise. Okay. SR says many scientists were in fact Catholic, but many actually kept their teachings to themselves due to fear of being too controversial with religious leaders, even though it didn't go against scripture. Yes, exactly, right? Someone like Copernicus, someone like Newton, right? And I mean, tons and tons of folks. Yeah, it's true. So says, OMG, Walter White, stop being a bloody baby. This isn't your stream. Oh, I don't know what he's saying, but okay, cool. Are you serious, dude? Sometimes, Neo. Sometimes I'm serious. Sometimes I'm not. What are the Zionist histories, says Danielle? Well, Zionism has its roots in the book of Deuteronomy, in the Torah. Modern-day Zionism has its roots in the middle of the 19th century. Both come from different points of view and different ideas of theology and history, but that is the history of Zionism in a nutshell. Pay attention to me. Who's that sound like? Eric Sharp says. Pay attention to me. Okay. Let's pay attention. Good enough? Cool. Rise up, Israel, says Just a Glance. Indeed, rise up. Humanity should rise up, right? Humanity should rise up. Look what I wrote to you. Let's take a look here. Take a look. Okay. There was Jewish rule. The Ethiopian emperors were Jews 300 years before Christianity entered. So before the Christian, Ethiopian Orthodox Church was a thing, right? In the Kebra Nagast, that goes back to King Solomon and Queen of Sheba or something, right? There is Menelik the First. Menelik the First, I think, was the first emperor of Ethiopia, or at least according to the, right? Kebra Nagast means the dynasty of kings. And if I'm not mistaken, from the union of Solomon and the Ethiopian queen at the time, or the empress, whoever she was, there was Menelik the First, and I think that there was no Christianity back then, right? So that would make sense that for the first few hundred years, or maybe even longer than that, even close to 1,000 years, the dynasty of kings in Ethiopia were Hebrews. So that does make some sense, though I don't know what the researchers and academics and historians have to say about that. Eric says, oh, whoops, sorry, the chat jumped. Ezra says, the Gentiles love to argue with the Jewish mind. They know that the truth is with us. So could be, I don't say that the truth is with me. I don't perceive myself to hold any kind of truth or knowledge or wisdom at all. There's what I think. I have my opinion. I know what I like. I know what traditions I hold to. I know what texts and lore and teachings I received. But I do not know that the truth is with me. I simply know that it's what's right for me, right here, right now, and has been right for me pretty much all my life. That is the only thing I actually know for sure. Menelik the First, says Henry, got a few coins from Ethiopia with portrait of him. Voila! Look at that. It's Walter White says, what do you think of Hamas? I think they started off as a very good thing, right? Being a charitable welfare organization for the people of Palestine. But later on they turned into later on the militant wing of Hamas overtook the entirety of the organization. And now they are no more than a bloodthirsty death cult. A warmongering, religious, extremist, oppressive regime, a dictatorship that pisses all over its own population and uses them as human shields. I'm not very fond of Hamas. No. So says, you have your own truth. It may not be correct, but it's true. Now, again, we spoke of this a few weeks ago or a couple of months ago on the idea of the truth objectively, my truth, your truth subjectively, and the whole... what is the absolute, right? The term, people brought up Socrates and the definitions, right? And people brought up Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching. People brought up, what's his face? Ode on a Grecian Urn. Who was it, right? Truth is beauty, beauty, truth. Who is it? Truth is beauty, beauty, truth. Come on, Ode on a Grecian Urn. Who is it? People in the chat, remind me who the poet is. Chum B'Chanun says, how can I receive monasticism, the Nazarite ship? How can I become ordained? I am a very spiritual person. I have been blessed to meet monks in my life. I have also lived in the forest with Buddhist monks and learned from a monk named Hare Krishna before I converted. I need a very high spirituality. Well, technically speaking, the way to take on the Nazariteship is very easy. You can look at Masechet Nazir in the Mishnah and the Talmud, and in the halachas of the Nazariteship in Rambam, in Yad HaChazakah, and you can see precisely how to do it. You can do it in as few as 2 words. If your heart and your mouth and your mind are aligned, then it is a standing vow of Nazariteship. The thing is that it's best if you do it after giving it some time, and apparently you maybe have. How can you technically do it? Look into it. There are infinite ways to accept and take on the Nazarite vow. The question is which one, right? There are 4 different types of Nazarites. It's lovely that you spoke to Buddhist monks. It really, really is lovely. Okay, let's continue. Your wife more attracted to me. Nami, are you more attracted to P.W. Quixote than me?
What's his name?
P.W. Quixote. What is the problem? You don't have to be here. I'm sorry. Am I bothering you? He said, your wife more attracted to me, said P.W. That's what he said. What is the problem here? Yeah, no, go for it, man. All right. Is my crown prince going to join the live stream? Let's go. Nah, she likes me more, says So-So. Nama, it seems that you've been out and about with the people in my live stream. What do you think of that? She says. Congratulations on subscription, Chief. Thank you, Batty. Good to see you again. Eric Sharp says, lol. Trump is a Christian, big fact, says Titus Brutus. Good to see you again, Brutus. It's Walter says, what do you think of what Muhammad has did in Khaybar? So as far as I know, I didn't read the Quran or the Hadith, whichever one it's at. As far as I know, the Battle of Khaybar was when he massacred a whole bunch of Jews. Either they did not accept Islam or they went against him, I don't recall, but there was a massacre, not mistaken, in Khaybar, which is why people chant Khaybar, Khaybar, Ya Yahud.
Is it in Kibosh?
No, not Kibosh, but hey, could it be that that's where the term Kibosh came from? Did you just crack that nut? Did you just bust that nut right open? אני יודע מה זה אומר. I say it intentionally. I love embarrassing my kids. Okay. I don't even mean to do it, obviously. They're embarrassed by my mere existence. SR says, Israel is actually supposed to be much larger than it currently is, historically speaking. Yes, but like I said, the greater Israel thing, I just don't go with that. I don't.
So what does he know?
The borders are indeed larger, but Israel does not need to be greater in order to be great. So, let's make Israel great again inside with what we have already and not seek to occupy more territory until we can actually be decent people. That's your job, LOL. Exactly, Fred. That's my job. It's part of my job. Let's go to the voting, right? The poll, 275 votes in. What do you think of the thumbnail, people? 43% say it's not silly, stupid, or idiotic enough. 26% say it's stupid. 21% say it's silly. Only 9%, still holding fast at 9%, say it's idiotic.
Wow,
Okay. Rachum Chanun says, what do you do every day? How does your Nazirut manifest itself in your actions in life, eating, drinking, and such? Why take the Nazarite vow? Well, okay. In my day-to-day, the Nazariteship is me abstaining from certain things, me letting my hair grow wild, and the Nazariteship is something that it simply is a natural part of my life, right? So the things that I do are very much the same things I did before. I'm not that different of an individual than I was before, right? I'm still with learning Torah, I'm still with Hitbodedut, I'm still with trying to do the right thing and screwing up royally in the process. As for Achila Shtia, I took on veganism. I was vegetarian, and then I took on veganism since I see the Nazariteship as a way of sanctifying life, and veganism as a complementary sort of way of life. with the Nazariteship, because both of them are there to sanctify the living, right? To care for our fellow earthlings and whatnot. As for why become a Nazarite, there is no reason specified in the Torah. Every Nazarite that I've spoken to had his or her own unique reason to take the vow. So it's a very personal vow. It's a very individual thing. There is no other prerequisite, right? The only prerequisite is you need to be a man or woman of the Hebrew tribes. The Torah does not give any reason, nor does it give a goal or an aim, an outcome, a result that is very individualistic. Hey, it's Rasta Jesus, says Dadidus. Thanks, man. I am not a Rasta or Jesus, but I appreciate the sentiment nonetheless. Nice people at the dark side, says Oam. Which dark side are we talking about here? Pinky Winky, says Robert. Yeah, we were remembering her earlier, because my wife was on the couch and she had a sunbeam across her face, and when Pinky used to do that, I used to say, Pinky in a sunbeam. So I said that, even though she has not been in a sunbeam in over a year and a half. I know a Jew, just a second I entered. Yes, Amar, I am indeed a Jew. SR is very smart. Y'all listen to the facts, says Titus Brutus. Joseph says, what are the 4 types of Nazarites? A Samson Nazarite, a Nazarite for a set period of time, a lifelong Nazarite, and a Nazarite for life. Both of them sound the same, but they're different. Do you speak Arabic? La. Unfortunately, I do not. I started learning spoken Arabic, Arabiya Amiyya, a few years ago, and I couldn't keep it up, but I will, God willing, go back to learning spoken Arabic. I'd like to do that very much. I think it's a lovely language. I think it's a beautiful language, and I would love to know it more. Yes, it is censored, says Mr. Black. Not with the Torah. I'm not sure what you mean. You're probably talking to someone else in the chat, Mr. Black. NBA 23-1 says, Nebraska farmers that voted for Trump are now crying because 70% of their workers are illegal. They stopped coming to work or got deported. 70% are illegal. And is that only true to Nebraska? Can't be. I mean, what is the percentage of illegal workers across the board, would you say, in the United States? Modern Hebrew is mostly Arabic. That is false, Michael. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit, mostly. There are Arabic words that have entered into the slang. There are Arabic words that gave birth to modern-day Hebrew words, or just borrowed as such. But to say that it's mostly, no, modern Hebrew is mostly biblical Hebrew and things conjured up by Eliezer ben Yehuda and his contemporaries, or borrowed from other languages, not only Arabic. So you are mistaken. You have some Arabic friends in Israel, says Henry. I had co-workers, never an Arabic friend that I would sort of call up, hey, what's up, how you doing, let's hang out. But I don't have many friends as it is. I'm something of a loner in that sense. Yes, I have my family, but I don't have friends that I speak with regularly or hang out with regularly. Now, my therapist said at the time that that was very much to my detriment and I should make more of an effort, and I probably should. But no. So I barely have any Hebrew friends, let alone Arabic friends. Or, let's say, because I have known Hebrew Arabs, so it's not necessarily a dichotomy there. What idols did early Jews worship? Well, very famously, they worshipped Nehushtan, the copper serpent that Moses erected, until the time of Chizkiyahu, king of Judah. They also built altars for different deities, like Kmosh and Milkom, the abominations, as it says, of Moab and of Ammon. They worshipped Baal and Baal Peor, and they worshipped the sun, and they worshipped the stars, and they worshipped... What other false gods did they worship in idol form? The Midianite one. Which one was the Midianite one? Well, I think that was Baal Peor. I think that was the major Midianite god. Anyway, a great many false deities, false for the Hebrews, right? Not false for those who follow them as their main deities, foreign and false for the Hebrew people to follow. So early Jews worshipped a ton of folks and a ton of deities, and the inclination to worship foreign idols and the inclination to worship the Hebrew God in a foreign way Both of those, if I'm not mistaken, were taken out of the equation, generally speaking, at the time of the beginning of the Second Temple era, some 2,000 plus years ago, right? 2,400 years ago. Super Chat came in. Paid membership says, did atheism influence Hebrew monotheism? I'm sorry, he said atenism. Do you mean atheism? I don't know what atenism is. Oh, atenism was a brief radical religious reform in the 14th century. So no, I think you meant atheism. Correct me if I'm wrong. Because there is such a thing as atenism, but it's from the 14th century. So that's not something that influenced Hebrew monotheism. People say that Zoroastrianism influenced Hebrew monotheism. People say that it was Abraham, the Hebrew, who influenced monotheism among the Hebrews. Atheism? I have no idea. Atenism? I don't know that either. I would think not. I would think not, but I might be mistaken. The great influencer is Avram, right? Avram the Hebrew, Abraham. You identify as a group called Jewish, says Dylan. It's not my, I don't identify as such. I'm part of the kingdom of Judah, so I'm a Jew. I'm a member of the tribe of Levi, so I'm a Levite. I'm part of the Hebrew tribe, so I'm a Hebrew. I'm Israeli and I'm a citizen, so I'm an Israeli and an Israelite. So, I live in Zion. I'm a son of Zion. It's like you could say all kinds of things about who I am and what I am, and each one would be a different aspect of my being. 14 BC, not AD. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I not see that correctly? Hang on a second. Oh, I'm sorry, 14th century BC, not AD. You are very much correct. Okay. In that sense, I would say very much yes. Definitely yes. I think so. I think it would have. But I don't know any facts, research, data, nothing. I knew that there's a very good chance because I also know that there was a Egyptian pharaoh that was monotheistic, or maybe an entire dynasty, short-lived. An entire dynasty that was monotheistic in Egypt. So I did know that there's a very good chance that they had influenced the either tribes of Israel or the Canaanite tribes that later became the tribe of Israel. I did know of that. I did not remember the name, but if we are talking about the same thing, I would say there's very much a very good chance that the that the Hebrew tribes that took on the one Hebrew God were influenced by the monotheism in ancient Egypt. Yes, I do think so. I do think so, yes. SR says, I respectfully disagree. They weren't worshipping the copper snake. A Christian would view it as a sin needed to be upon a cross for healing. I don't know what you mean, SR, but in the book of Kings, it definitely does say that Chizkiah, if I'm not mistaken, the king of Judah, was the one who cut down Nehushtan. That was its name. They used to offer it incense as an offering. So, yes, they were worshipping Nehushtan. I assume comments about Gaza are being screened out. No, nothing is being screened out. The only screening that's going on is YouTube's own censorship that is very, very minimal, but I don't screen anything out, no. Leon says, are you under the Nazarene vow? No, Nazarene means somebody from Nazareth or someone of the Nazarene Christian Church. I am not of Nazareth, and I'm not a Christian. The Nazarite vow I am under, not the Nazarene vow. How long for life? I've been under the vow for just over 16 years, and I will go to my grave, God willing, go to my grave, be buried in the cold ground under the Nazarite vow. Yup. They weren't countries, says Viet Cong. They were two neighboring Hebrew kingdoms. Yes, the north and the south, Yehuda and Israel. That is correct. The same snake you see in American Health Organization, the serpent wrapped around the pole. Yes, that also has its... The reason why the serpent is equated with medicine is because it sheds its skin and becomes new. There's a rejuvenation. There's a rejuvenation that is associated with the serpent. Ironic, isn't it? That rejuvenation and life is associated with the serpent who, right, in Eden had helped to bring about death and to bring it into creation. So it's a whole thing with good and evil, life and death, and the tree of life. But so yes, it's true. It's true in the Greeks, right? The Romans also had a pole with the serpent around it. And yes, and we have Nehushtan. And my medics pin, right? I was an IDF medic. When I finished the medics course and we received our medics pin, it is indeed a chalice of sort, right? A kind of pole with an opening that has a serpent around it. In the IDF, we call it the worm, hatolaat. I like turtles, says Big Mac. Yes, but do you also like tortoises? That is the bigger question. Digital says, what's up, Talmud dude? I'm a fan, but I'm not necessarily a Talmud dude. Thank you, Digital Double DJ. I'm doing well. How are you doing? What's up with you? I'm in no Talmud for this. I'm in a no Talmud for this? What do you mean? The southern Jewish state people came to the Red Sea long ago, says Ohm. The southern Jewish state people came to the Red Sea long ago. I don't know what you mean. One of them, says Mr. Black, can lose limbs and it will grow back. I think it's a crocodile. Yeah, crocodiles maybe are able to do that in some ways, and some lizards are able to grow back their tails and other limbs as well. Yep. Can you talk more about the serpent in Judaism, says user? Well, Eden and the serpent. The serpent was seen as the Edenic creation upon which, right, physical, metaphysical, however you choose to see it, upon which the divine revelation of the adversary, the Samech Mem, Satan, that literally means adversary in Hebrew, Satan was riding the serpent, meaning just as you have a soul that animates a body, it was the serpent that was being animated by the Samech Mem, by Satan, by the spiritual adversarial force. The serpent is mentioned as being one able to speak in some ways on the same level as the human being, also able to speak. I think it's the only one outside of Bilam's ass that isn't the animal that does speak, and that already happened after Eden. But in Eden, it's human beings who can speak, it's the divine revelation of speech that brought being into existence, and it's the serpent that can also speak. Likewise, it's said that the serpent had legs, and then they were cut off, meaning there were certain things that were very human-like. And that idea of the good and the bad, right? Like the yin and the yang with the serpent in between them, and some good in the bad and some bad in the good. The yin-yang symbol, right? The Taoist symbol, it really, really articulates this beautifully, that idea. And the serpent in between, that place in between them where you're supposed to be walking, with the known and the unknown, right? With the familiar and unfamiliar, that is something that also is within the Torah, also is within Judaism, right? And the blessings and the curses and everything that happened there would not have come to pass were it not for the serpent. And the serpent was there to challenge humanity. The serpent was there, the adversarial element was there for us to be able to get over our shortcomings and our weaknesses and do the right thing. And now we are also called to that very struggle, battle, challenge, drama, whatever you want to call it. If a person is not tested, they don't truly know themselves. If you're not pushed past your boundaries, you can't really know how far you can go. And if there's no adversarial element, then there is no story. There is no proper plot. So the serpent, even though he represents death, and even though there's great strife between the serpent and mankind, and even though the serpent tempted Eve, as they say, and even though the serpent represents the dark side of the force, the sitra achra, the other side, the left hand, the defilement, death itself, it also represents life. It also represents the opportunity of a greater life, the possibility of expanding oneself, of elevating oneself through the struggle, through the strife, through the challenge, to be able to draw strength, to draw courage, to draw powers unknown from the depths of your being and counter that force of negativity and of wickedness, of malice, of death, and to be more a force for life, to be more a force of goodness and of kindness and of benevolence in the world. And without that element of adversary always on your case, it could very well be, despite all of the detriments, despite all the drawbacks, it could be that you would never truly know who who you are and what you are. And so we are called to contend with the serpentine nature of being, with the serpents within us, with the serpents outside of us. So is it good? Is it bad? It's more along the lines of the jealousy of the scribes that increases wisdom. But of course, there are also the chaotic and random elements of the world, of this world of knowledge of good and evil that we were thrown into, cast out of Eden into this world. Bad things happen to good people. A person who is righteous can be at the wrong place at the wrong time in the wrong circumstances and just get, completely annihilated. It's like you need to give the devil his due to some degree. That is also something that is done. Circumcision also really acts this out. After you cut off the foreskin, the tradition is to put it in dirt right then and there, to put it in earth, because the food of the serpent is earth, as it says in the book of Genesis. So that was a little bit about the serpent. Very much a little bit, mind you. That was just off the top of my head. There's so much more there, so much more. 326 votes in, 1 hour and almost a half into this live stream. And let's see, what do you think of the thumbnail, people? 42% say it's not stupid, silly, or idiotic enough. 25% say it's stupid. Silly, 21% of you say. 12% rising up from 9. Idiotic, coming into its own here. All right. Have to go, says SR. Go in peace, SR. Thank you for being here. Thank you for participating. Thank you for engaging. I truly do appreciate all of you people out there, those who are viewing, those who are swiping away horribly and horridly and wondering what the hell was that. Those who are here for the long haul, I love it. Those who are here to cast aspersions and allegations, I love that too. As I've said before. User says, what times do you talk about it so we can come back? Talk about what, user? When do you share more? I mean, this is an ongoing chaotic chat. I go with the flow, right? It's unscripted, it's unfiltered. Usually I do have something that I start with for the first few minutes. I usually post a short sometime during the day, and then I start the live stream by discussing that short or whatever it was that I posted earlier. And then it just goes into random Q&A. That's the way that this channel goes. That's the way that it always has gone. You have a strong work ethic, says Digital Double DJ. Do I? I just might. 502 says, ooh, that smells good. What do you got there? An omelet and a salad? Trina? Okay. It smells really good. Good for you. Good to see you. God bless you and your family. Thank you, Outlaw. Blessings to you and yours from Jerusalem. Blessings to all of you out there, those watching now, those watching later. Shout out to the replay crew. And it's a lot of fun being with you here. Very, very much. The energy is great. It's electric. I love it. It always manages to give me a bit of a high, right? Being over here live, unfiltered, unscripted, raw from Jerusalem. It's lovely. And I thank you. You're the ones who will make this happen. I mean, sure, there have been many times when I was just speaking into the void with no views, no likes, no contributions to, and now this is going on here, and I have you people to thank and the YouTube algorithm to be very gracious for, or gracious towards, for it is gracious towards me. Krang says, long live Christianity, which reminds me of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? Krang. Or no, was it Krang? Yeah, Krang, right? The brains in Dimension X. It was Krang, right? In the comic books and in the TV show, the animated TV show. Yes, I'm not mistaken. Tell me I'm not mistaken. It was Krang, right? Replays never feel the same as live. That's right, Scott. They don't. It's different when it's live. That's true. I'll keep you on your toes, says MM. Good. I like to be kept on my toes. It helps me to think. Now, my thoughts may be stupid and asinine, naive and misguided, but they are nevertheless my thoughts. So I like to be kept on my toes. Good day to you. Hey, David Roger does it. How you doing, man? How are you? PB says, I've been to Israel, one of the nicest countries I've ever been to. Jerusalem is fascinating, beautiful, no matter what religion someone is. I concur. Very much Dudley for life. Who is PP Dudley? And why PP Dudley for life? Yes, Krang. That's what I thought, Robbie. Thanks for that. What Jew means? Buried asks. Jew means somebody of the kingdom of Judah. That's what Jew means. Krang, if Ben, hey, Nerdable is here. Christianity isn't going anywhere anytime soon. What are you spamming for? I think that's true. I think that's true, yes. Were children ever raised in the Nazarite vow? Yes, Lighthoof. One of the 4 types of Nazariteship is the Nazarite for life, which is somebody who was raised as a Nazarite not because of their vow, but somebody who was their guardian or parent that put the vow on them. And then when they become of age, if you're a woman, it's 12 and 1 day, bat mitzvah. If you are male, a man, it's 13 and 1 day, bar mitzvah. And then you can decide to end the vow, bring your offerings, and live out your life. Or you can decide to continue the vow, and then it becomes a vow for life. Children were raised as Nazarites. Very famously, there was Absalom, there was Samuel, there was Samson, and others who were raised. People say that the princes and princesses of the royal families of Israel were raised as Nazarites. But that's according at least to one Rabbi Nazarite by the name of Gabriel David, who wrote the book Nezirut Yisrael. So yes. Digital Double says all this and denied heaven too. Where do I sign up? I'm not sure what you mean. Scott says, have you considered having a show outside? I have. In the month of June, I had a walkabout Wednesday. So if you want, you could check those out. I would really like to see your world and the people's doing everyday stuff. So yeah, I do that every now and then. A couple of weeks ago, I walked around in the neighborhood at like 11 p.m. Go wash your hair, buddy. Not a good look. Okay. Pseudo3 says, just quickly in the chat. Is this a good look for me? Yes or no? Give me it in the chat. I'd love to know. As for wash your hair, I do wash my hair regularly. Do you ever see in the mirror? You look really disgusting. I agree, Hope and Peace. I am a very disgusting specimen of humanity. But thankfully, it's not up to me to live up to the standards of beauty and aesthetics that you espouse. So even though you might consider me truly vile and really disgusting, that's okay, because I'm not you and you're not me. It's a decent look. It's fine. Yes. Yeah, there you go. Jimmy Myers says, Shalom. Shalom to you. It's good to see you. What do you think about settler violence in the West Bank that Karist says? I think that if it's uncalled for and unprovoked and illegal, that is terrible and it's abhorrent, and I do not condone it, and I think that it's terrible and that those people should go to jail. However, if it's retaliatory, then ideally it should be the military or the cops, depending on the case, that should intervene and not the civilians. I'm not a vigilante sympathizer. I don't think people should take matters into their own hands. But I've been told that the cops and the military are not doing enough. That might be wrong. But generally speaking, I don't think people should take these matters into their own hands. It only perpetuates the circle of violence and doesn't bring anything to any kind of conclusion that is... What's the word I'm looking for? Well, a conclusion that would be agreeable to either side. So I think that settler violence in the West Bank is terrible, but I do understand those who are attacked. I do understand those who would want to attack back, but at those who attack them, not random people. But yes, definitely there is settler violence that is illegal, settler violence that should not be, settler violence in general I do not condone, and I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it's ethical, I don't think it's moral. But it's very easy for me to say it here in my home in Jerusalem. You would blend into Vancouver with your look. Really, Scott? You think in Vancouver I would... That's in Canada, right? If I'm not mistaken. Ankush says, love from billion Hindus who are still alive after hundreds of Islamic genocide. We still protect our culture, unlike Iraq, Lebanon, Egypt, Iran, Algeria, etc. Yes, a lot of countries were Arabized, a lot of countries were Islamized. That much is true. Zach M says, lying is something you are born with. If you say so. I think lying is something, even though there might be a genetic proclivity, I think maybe at some point it's more learned, right? It's more nurture than nature. But if you say so, that's fine. Your look is a good filter, says PS. The assholes who only see the surface will stay away or reveal themselves. Yes, I see it. I see it the same way. I see it the same way. Yep, it is a very good filter. I agree. Zach M says, just shut the fuck up. Well, Zach M, you understand the sweet and undeniable irony of you coming onto my live stream and telling me to shut up while you yourself speaking in the chat of my live stream to tell me to shut up. Do you understand the sweet and finger-licking goodness of the irony and the stupidity that you're embodying right now? I hope you get it. Ah, so good. Okay. Ankush, says Soviet, you had more help and infrastructure than Lebanon and such. They thought a Christian elite and toothless institutions would resist change. Mr. Black says he comes to listen and then tells you to shut up. Yes, exactly. Crackout Clown says you can't talk about irony on social media. You'll confuse the plebs. Hey, I'm a pleb myself. I'm very, very confused, you know. So it's all good. It's all good. I'm as much of a dumbass as that person. The thing is that I at least can perceive the irony of what he's doing. Hey, Bazazow is here. How you doing? The settlers have realistic security doctrine. They keeping me safe. I will never speak down on them. I believe in the Hebrew morality, eye for an eye. Well, interestingly enough, in the Torah it does say eye for an eye. In the oral traditions, it's not literally an eye for an eye, but monetary compensation in the amount that an eye would go for in relation to the person who is now without the eye. One of the more famous instances of differences between the written Torah and the oral Torah that complete each other judiciously, right? Insofar as halacha is concerned. Far Side says, ooh, I love the Far Side Gallery. I love Gary Larson so much. You could break up the monotony of your speech with some interludes. Throw a ping pong ball into a Gatorade bottle or something. I don't have a ping pong ball and a bottle of Gatorade. What I do have is this right here. So now, a word from our sponsor. Hello. It's me. Wait, let's get focus here. Focus. Okay. There is no sponsorship. Okay, let's continue. Did that break up the monotony enough? Ooh, here. Let's see. This is a dairy milk chocolate. Yes, that I don't partake of, but one of my kids just finished it. Let's smell it, because that's pretty much the only thing I can do with milk chocolate. Ooh, look, a crumb. I will smell this crumb. Not much of a scent. I thought there would be more. Oh well. See, that broke up the monotony. Let's continue. Do your best monkey impression. I can't do my best monkey impression, Robert, because people are sleeping. The younger ones are sleeping up there. But I can do a soft monkey impression. I can do an impression of a monkey throwing his feces. All right. There. Jonathan, are you live tonight outside to stream? You want me to go outside? You want me to walk around a bit? I just might do that. I just might do it. Hey, Space Gear Jace is here. What's up? Looks like a bugger, says Daryl Wilson. I am indeed a bugger. I am indeed. We don't get along either. Orthodox freak me out, says Jimmy. Orthodox freak you out. Why are you freaked out about Orthodox? AA says, off topic, is there any recent good movie you recommend? Your sense of humor is amazing, by the way. Thank you, I appreciate that. It's genetics, it's my parents. But I haven't seen a good movie recently, or a recent good movie. Let's think. Did I see anything recently? Did I? No. I haven't watched much television recently. I've been checking out Louis C.K. So it's not a proper movie. I think I saw Louis C.K.'s, one of his more recent stand-ups, which is nice. I enjoyed it. Do you shower? Yes, I do. Packing the bowl. Yes, I do. Never been a bong man myself. Because I'm not very religious. I work in physics. Orthodox kind of freak me out. I see. I see. Well, my mother is a doctor of biochemistry, a researcher, and she says that her, like the science that she's a part of, and the teachings and the lore of of the biology and the microbiology and inside of the cells, and that it really does correspond with her Orthodox faith. Bro, do you see me? Hi, Sweebien. I do see you now, but I didn't see anything before that. Culper says, psychiatric ward, a patient threw his feces at me. Funny times, LMAO. Ouch. That's not too good, but yes, some people throw feces. It's true. You have old age and a false religion, says Colin. Hey, Colin, good to see you again. What does that mean, you have old age and a false religion? I don't know what that means. Andrew says, Yahweh, Shaddai, Elohim. So Yod He Vav He, Shaddai, and Elohim are three different names of the Most High God, each one pertaining to a different divine revelation. The name Yod He Vav He pertains to the masculine and to the torso and to the attribute of harmony, beauty, and the middle pillar. The name Shaddai is an offshoot of Yod He Vav He, corresponding with the foundation, with Yesod. And the name Elohim corresponds more to the feminine divine presence and the left hand, let's put it that way, and the left pillar. Are you Allah, says Samsung. No, I am definitely not Allah. Do you use apple vinegar? Yes, I occasionally do a baking soda apple cider vinegar rinse. I don't think I use apple vinegar in anything else. And even that is apple cider vinegar. So I guess it is apple vinegar. Lord Infamous says, good live stream. I enjoy it, and I hope other people are as well. Some people take some value from it. Some people take some entertainment from it. Let's give them a quick shout out. That's not as good. I should try the other one. There we go. See? Much louder, much better. So yeah, some people enjoy the entertainment and the tomfoolery and the buffoonery and the dumbassery, jackassery as well. And some people enjoy the the deep dives that come up here, this philosophical, psychological, religious, spiritual discussions. It's all good. This is what this channel is here for. Captain says, you're bald. No, I'm not. I was bald. People in the chat, where is that from? Shout it out. Let's go to the votes. 377 votes in. The thumbnail is not stupid, idiotic, or silly enough, 41%. Stupid, 27. Silly, 20. Idiotic, 11. Yes, Robert Harrison, where's that from? Jude, says Captain. Yes, indeed. Groucho Marx, is that you? Oh, wow, Daryl, thank you so much for the compliment. I love Groucho. I love the Marx Brothers, but definitely Groucho. Oh, man. This morning I shot an elephant in my pajamas. How he got into my pajamas, I'll never know. I'm a Jew from Oklahoma. We still got ours, says Jimmy. Yes, yes, you do. What do you think about someone who is not Jewish, says Brian? That they are not Jewish. That's what I think of them. Should I be thinking something else? You tell me. Is it Seinfeld? Yes, it is. With Elaine, with Julia Louis-Dreyfus delivering that beautiful, I don't like this thing, and here's what I'm doing with it. Just to be clear, being vegan is not part of being Nazarite. That is correct. I took it on as an addendum, not to the vow, but adjacent to the vow. Also, I cut out all alcohol, as opposed to only cutting out wine and strong drink that has grapes in it. Sean Hurwitz rocks? Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He does rock. Andrew says, I got a question. Did I heard people from Israel went up to the Temple Mountain or the mountain? Yes, people from Israel go up to the Temple Mount all the time. There are certain restrictions, halachically, right, as far as ritual cleanliness and ritual purity are concerned. There are certain restrictions that are put upon us by the Jordanian Waqf, the Jordanian Waqf, right, the keeper of these sacred places. So, other than those prohibitions, impositions, yes, people of the Hebrew faith are allowed to go up to the Temple Mount. Ideally, they need to go to the mikveh first, the ritual pool, and purify and cleanse themselves, and then they may go up. Brian says, just a question, sir. Certain rabbis have horrible views about non-Jews. Yes, certain Jews who are not rabbis also have horrible views about non-Jews. I do not espouse those views, and I think that while I do understand to some degree, taken in context and with nuance and discernment, why there are certain people, why there are certain rabbis who at the time said very, very militantly racist things against non-Jews at the time, I don't think that that's a way to be in the world. Not for me. Not for me, anyway. For others, I can't tell other people how to live. Syrian says, does being Jewish feel more important on a spiritual level or an ethnicity level, or equally so? A good question. I suppose being a Hebrew man matters to me more on a spiritual level, in the sense that even if I was not ethnically Jewish from the time or place or tribe or genealogy, then I would convert, thereby only having that spiritual level and not all of the other more physical, genetic components be part of it. So I think that the more important thing for me is the spirituality of the Hebrew man and the Hebrew woman, the faith, the Torah, the commandments, the covenants inside of this wonderful path of the Hebrew. That is what calls to me. And I think that because there is such a thing as conversion, that is the more important thing by and large. Grow up, man, says Vision Reel. Okay, fair enough. How do you think I should grow up, Vision Reel? What is it that I should do? I'd love to know. The Great Noticer says, why is Mark Zuckerberg not like non-Jews? I don't know. Does Mark Zuckerberg have a deal with non-Jews? Does he not like them? I don't know. Well said. Thank you for that insight, sir. Hey, it's all good. I'm happy to address your questions. 8K subs, says Robert. Yes, I just passed 8K subs. It's lovely. It really is lovely. I mean, you people know, the regulars know, I don't ask for subs, I don't ask for views, I don't ask you to smash that like button, yet I definitely do, genuinely, sincerely appreciate every like, every sub, every view, every comment, every chat. Every DM, if you want to hit me up in the DMs, Hebrew Nazarite across the board, look for my tree. I'm on X, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. I don't really post, but I'm there for the one-on-ones, and I have a few ongoing now with people from different faiths, and it's always lovely. In the past, I've always had people hit me up every now and then, sometimes more, sometimes less, but there's always some sort of a conversation going on. Today, actually, nobody hit me up, but it's okay, it's Sunday. Right? So most of the people who hit me up are Christian, and it's the day of rest, and so they are undoubtedly resting, or so I hope. Jimmy says, comedy is part of our culture. We don't get mad at your anti-Semitism, we just laugh at you. It's fun. Yes, it's fun, it's fun. I'm amused by the anti-Semites and the Jew haters, right? And the Nazis and the trolls and terrorist sympathizers. It amuses me that they consider me such a pain in their ass. They consider me such a vile, and revolting thing. They consider me such a waste of a person, and they really do hate. They have hate in their heart, and all I have towards them is amusement and some sort of a wonder of, wow, that's pretty screwed up. Am Yisrael Chai is here. Mike TRJJDBSB is here saying free Palestine. I agree, Mike. Free Palestine from Hamas and the other bullshit terrorist regimes. Free them from oppression. Free them from their own Islamic terrorism. Free them from their bloodthirsty leadership, their warmongering leaders. Yes, I agree. Thank you for standing, Mike, with Israel and with the IDF in their just war against the terrorists. Thank you very much indeed. Dudley for Life says, do you think the majority of Muslim countries will ever fully recognize and accept Israel as a legitimate state? Well, first of all, I have no idea. Second of all, if you take a look, you'll see that the ones that have accepted us were either ones over whom we have a decisive victory and their unconditional surrender, Egypt, Jordan, or ones who understand like you said, recognizing that we're not going anywhere and in fact might actually be beneficial for them, their economy, their population, their growth in a way that's positive. And so they do what they consider to be right for their people and make peace with Israel, right? The people in the Abraham Accords, the Bahrain, Morocco, one other perhaps. I think Saudi Arabia will join. I think the UAE will join, and I think many will join in their wake or possibly before. And I think eventually there will be peace all over the world in this entire multiverse of multiverses that we inhabit. I don't know how it will come to pass. I don't know what the chain of events will be. I just think that it will have to happen eventually, that we will be able to overcome our differences, overcome our squabbles, be they large or great, legitimate or less legitimate. I believe that we will be able eventually, somehow, to recognize each other, embrace each other as earthlings made in the image of God, no more, no less, right? God will pour his spirit upon all flesh, like it says in the book of Yoel. Ay, God willing, may it be so. What happens if a Jew eats a hot dog? Well, a dog is not a kosher animal, so a Jew who keeps kosher would not eat a dog hot or cold. If you're talking about a Frankfurter, right, a hot dog, what happens is that they eat a hot dog. That's pretty much what happens. Now, you have the Hebrew national hot dogs in the United States. I've had the pleasure of having one over 20 years ago, close to 30 years ago. My word, yes, 30 years ago, I had one and only Hebrew national hot dog in Yankee Stadium as the Yanks beat the Red Sox. It's Boston, right? White Sox is Chicago, Red Sox is Boston, or do I have it the other way around? I don't remember. Either way, yes. Jimmy says, way too many bots. Dude, this is ridiculous. Yes, again, I embrace the bots. If there are any bots, I embrace them. It's all good. It's an open, chaotic, random, free-range chat. That is the nature of this channel. That is the nature of this chat. That is why I don't ban people. That's why there are no mods. That's why I don't put people in timeouts. And I tell people, yes, spam as much as you want. Cast aspersions and allegations and hurl your insults. It's all good. It's all acceptable. It's all welcome here in the channel. Thoughts on Mizrahi Jews, says Lena? That they are Mizrahi Jews. That is my thought. Robin says, I think you too smart for this earth. No, I'm not smart at all. I'm actually I'm the lowest of the low. I don't consider myself to be smart. I consider myself trying to, climb up and stand on the shoulders of smart giants. But I myself, no, I don't think I am. But I appreciate the sentiment and the vote of confidence in my intelligence. Oi, pardon me. I'm out, says PW. This too gay. Too gay? I mean, I don't think I've had any anal intercourse with any man on this live stream, have I? Nor man. Is that, PW, is that what you're saying? Do you think I should? Is that what, I glitched? I'm back? I'm live? Okay. Chocolate for your son, says MM. Well, again, he won't be receiving this. Everything that comes into the chat that ends up in my bank account after YouTube takes its cut goes to charities here in Jerusalem. So my son may not receive chocolate, but there will be a needy family who perhaps has a son that will receive chocolate. If indeed people donate chocolate to be given to the poor families and individuals here in Jerusalem, who knows? Maybe your contribution will end up being a chocolate in the hands of a malnourished child here in Jerusalem. And always, as I say, I give to charities that serve the entire population, whatever religion, ethnicity, eye color, skin color, penis length, whatever, right? They serve East and West Jerusalem alike. So if you do give, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. So do the needy of Jerusalem. Lena says, fed up of the double standard. What double standard, Lena? What double standard? Every leader of Israel has been Ashkenazi, you say. Well, if you're saying prime minister, I think you are correct. Presidents, we had Moshe Katsav. But were there others? Was there ever a prime minister that was a Mizrahi Jew? Probably not. Probably not. Probably not. My point is, Mizrahim are sidelined. See, I take issue with the whole Ashkenazi, Mizrahi, Sfaradi, Teimani, Cherkesi, whatever. I take issue. I take issue with that because people are too beholden to their exilic ways. Now, of course, I understand this. People want to stick to the traditions of their fathers, but their fathers lived in exile. We did not come here back to Zion only to continue our ways of exile. There's got to be something more Eretz Yisrael. There's got to be something where we need to focus on what brings us together. I don't know what to tell you. Now, difference in cultures do exist. The Mizrahi Jews of the East and the Ashkenazi Jews of the West, the Ethiopian Jews of Africa, they each have their own culture thing that they sort of adapted to and picked up in exile. But at the root is the Hebrew way. At the root of it is Torah. At the root is something greater than the traditions and customs and culture of the exile that we were cast out to. So you're saying Mizrahim are sidelined, and people have been saying this for decades and decades, ever since the Ma'abarot, ever since the establishment of the State of Israel, and before that. And maybe it's true, and I'm saying, damn, we need to get over it already. We really do. You know, I'll tell you something. My parents came from the United States. They had all of us, me and my brothers, here in Israel. And until my brothers and I went to school, until we arrived at grade school, we had no idea what a Mizrahi is, what an Ashkenazi is, what a Sfaradi is. We had no idea. Do you know why? Because when you are in exile, a Jew is a Jew is a Jew. My parents grew up in New York understanding that a Jew is a Jew, right? And your brother, your sister. And then we started coming home. Me and my brothers came home with questions. Are we Ashkenazi? What is a Sfaradi? Why are they calling me this? Why are they saying that? We had no idea because my parents, God bless them, a true son and daughter of Zion they are. The hippie religious folks, in many ways an inspiration. And they were like, yeah, treat people with respect. It doesn't matter who they are, where they come from. It's like treat people the way you would want to be treated. And so when we showed up with these questions from our religious schools, mind you, who are supposed to be supposedly beyond that to some degree. But no. The bigotry, the sidelining, the questions, Ashkenazi, Mizrahi, Sfaradi, all of that came, and they had no idea. They were like, we don't know. We did not grow up like that. We simply grew up with a Jew as a Jew and treat people properly. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Mizrahim is low IQ. See, Shabbat Shalom 1, this is exactly what I'm talking about. What are you talking about? Even if we grant that proposition, and we say that Mizrahi Jews have on average a lower IQ by whatever deviation or I don't know what the hell does that have to do with anything? What about the EQ? What about the emotional quotient? What about culture that is beyond intelligence, something that's in your blood? Do you see what I'm saying? What about street smarts? What about cleaving to true sages and righteous folk out of pure, simple, what would be the term? Simply following righteous people, right? The Saddiqim. That's something that I think is very great and very wonderful. Rabbi Nachman of Breslev himself said that it's the prastakim, right? The simple folk. They are the ones, right? The ones who just are living out their lives and reading Tehillim, reading the Psalms, daily. And it's like, these are the people who will truly be honored. These are the people who truly hold to something that is greater, right? Just living their simple life and worshiping God in their way and reading, and following the path and not taking themselves out of that equation of all of the infighting, all of the tribalism, all of the... So if you say Mizrahim have low IQ, even if we grant that and say that you are correct, practically, technically speaking, they have a lower IQ on average, first of all, you'd find Mizrahim with a very high IQ. Second of all, you'd find Ashkenazim with a very low IQ. Third, I think that's simply the wrong thing to say. Why would you ever want to say that? Really, truly, why? People talk about their culture and it's been Arabized, they're more aggressive, they're more flamboyant, they're more outspoken, they're more garish. Okay, sometimes, but there's also sometimes some need for that. In the very same way that in the States you have the conservatives and the Democrats, and it takes both of them to make society work. The classic example is running a company, right? You need the creative folk to come up with it, and you need the bookkeepers to run it. You see what I'm saying? Like Lao Tzu says in the Tao Te Ching, perhaps these are not opposites, but milling stones, right? They work together. Okay. Ashkenazi is high IQ, Mizrachim low IQ. Again, Shabbat Shalom. I don't quite know why you're saying that, man, but okay. AA says, you really are great with words. Your answers are amazing. Again, it's not answers, because what's an answer? I address things in the chat. As for words, I mean, I'm a man of words. I've always been, whether it's spoken, whether it's written. I simply love words. I love reading. I love writing. It's something that I am always immersed in one way or another. Whether it's writing or reading or speaking, I love it. I'm a man of words. I quote George Carlin all the time, right? They are my work, they're my passion, they're my play, and I love them. I truly do. Niv says, Shabbat Shalom, אתה בור ועם הארץ. אתה מכיר פרופסור רב, מחקרים מוכיחים אחרת. Are you ignorant? Oh, you are ignorant, he says. Do you know a professor or a rabbi? Studies prove otherwise. Thoughts on Be'er Sheva, says Lena. Well, I have a soft spot and a hard spot for Be'er Sheva because my mandatory service was in the Negev desert, most of it. So I would go to Be'er Sheva all the time. Whenever I'd go back home, whenever I'd go back to base from home, it would be through Be'er Sheva. And I have some fond memories, like buying a big cheese burekas at the central bus station. Now it's a more advanced and modern central bus station. Back then it was like raw with a little glory hole type thing in the bathrooms. It was just, you don't want to know. It was terrible, dirty, smelly, thousands of soldiers just fighting for room on the bus. Oh my God, such memories. Whew. Now, in reserve duty, I also happened to be there, but so my thoughts on Be'er Sheva, I'm sure it's a wonderful place. My thoughts are that I have a soft spot for it and a hard spot for it. And I don't mean hard like, hey, let's experiment. I mean like, ugh. Rayado says, hi Rayado, good to see you again. Can a Jew be reincarnated as a non-kosher animal? I don't know enough about reincarnation in order to tell you, but definitely from what I know, yes. There might be Kabbalists and other teachings of reincarnation that disagree. But yes, although it may not be reincarnation, may be closer to a disembodied spirit taking possession of a non-kosher animal. Reincarnation is a good question. I do not know. But that's a very good thing. A very good thing. I don't know. Dayton says religion is just a bunch of ghost stories. I disagree. It's just a bunch of ghost stories. Are there ghost stories in religion? Yes. And you could take them with a grain of salt, a grain of hummus, a drop of seed, whatever you want. So to say that it's just that is throwing the baby out with the bathwater, which I am disinclined to do myself. Tom Lizard says, to be kosher, you have to get a haircut. False, Tom. I am a Nazarite. It would be non-kosher of me to cut my hair. I am not allowed. The Nazarite is commanded to grow his or her hair wild and free. It's been just over 2 hours in this live stream, raw from Jerusalem. Let's see, 447 votes in. What do you think of the thumbnail? 42% say not stupid, silly, or idiotic enough. 27% say it's stupid. Silly, say 20%, and 11%, down 1%, idiotic. Let's scroll down. He means haircut, e.g. circumcision. No, I don't think so. I think he means a haircut. I think he would have said circumcision. Either way, I've had both. Dude, stop entertaining the negative comments. There's intelligent questions here, says Malkitzedek. Hi, Malkitzedek. I mean, hey, I scroll down and I address what's there. I'm not picking and choosing the stupid stuff. Who is originally behind the popular from the river to the sea Palestinian protest chant? I've heard I've heard that it has its roots in some Zionist thing, but I have no idea. I really don't. Prophecy is a scientifically proven human phenomenon, Joseph says. I'm inclined to agree, though people will probably disagree, of course. But to arrive at that trance-like state, you know, a kind of like hypnosis or trance, that's it. Remember USS Liberty. Indeed, let us remember the time when Israel, and it's disputed, when Israel unfortunately it attacked the USS Liberty, mistaking it for an enemy vessel, and some say that it was intentional, though I disagree. Why on earth would Israel intentionally attack US forces? I have no idea. Jerusalem's original name, Jerusalem, the Ugarites, God of peace, the star of dawn. So Yerushalem, or Yerushalayim, or Yerushalem, the Ugarites, God of peace, the star of dawn. Could very well be, yes, because they were Jebusites, right? The Yevusim, and that was called Yevus before it was called Yerushalem or Yerushalayim. Lena says, thoughts on anti-Zionist Jews. I think that they have something to go on with the three oaths, right? And the Lola Alot Bachoma. However, I think that they are mistaken in the way that they are actively anti-Zionist, claiming falsely that modern-day Zionism goes against the Torah, claiming falsely that it has no root in the Torah, which it certainly does, and or no root in the Bible, which it certainly does. The thing is that you could take it either way. So they do have a leg to stand on, but it is not the only leg. And I believe it could be either or, and there's not one approach that's better than the other. And it simply had come to pass that modern-day Zionism started off as like an offshoot of the Enlightenment, secular, socialist thinkers that had nothing to do with God or the covenant or tshuva, but with history. This is our ancestral home. Let's go back. Let's build up the land. So my thoughts on anti-Zionist Jews, they're allowed to think it. To actively be against modern-day Zionism is problematic as far as I'm concerned. A little problematic. Remember Chaim Solomon, says Neve. Okay, let's Google that, because I don't remember. American merchant Chaim Salomon was a Polish-born American merchant known for his actions during the American Revolution. Voila! So what did he do? A famous quote from AI, from Google, a famous quote from Chaim Salomon, I know that you've given, even beyond your means, but no, we must give again. It isn't charity I ask, he said. It's an offering to the cause of liberty, a cause sacred to us above all others, because centuries of bitter persecution have taught us the value of liberty. That is wonderful. That is beautiful. Thank you for educating me on Chaim Salomon. I had no idea. That's really great. Abraham Silverstein says, why does the world hate us, brother? It hurts my soul. I seek guidance. You'll have to ask them. I have, different things to go on. People ask this all the time. The first thing that I say when I address this question is go ask the haters, because they'll find ways to hate. They definitely will. Linkush says, are you talking about Netuei Karta? Not only Netuei Karta, no. Most of them live here, and that's not right. Get rid of all the benefits of the country and being against it. To get all the benefits of the country and being against it. Yes, Netuei Karta, very famously, that's what it means. Netuei Karta, the keepers of the city. Or rather, not Notrei Karta, Netuei Karta. Right? They are the ones who abstain. And so, I'm not a fan of Netuei Karta. Not really. Not really. Hang on a second. Yes. So then Netuei Karta. They don't take, it's not right, I agree, it's not right to get all the benefits and undermine the very state that allows you that lifestyle, right? I agree. James says, you're awesome, have a great day. Thank you, James, as are you. Do you live stream walking around Jerusalem? I'm new to your channel. Yes, I do, PP Dudley for life. I occasionally do walk around Jerusalem and live stream. I did it 4 weeks in a row, weekly, 4 weeks in a row, or was it 5 times during June when I did different things. During June, I went in a different path on the road to 10K. We did not arrive at 10K, but that's okay. We were learning Tao Te Ching, we were learning Mesilat Yesharim, we were learning different mistranslated, misunderstood Bible verses, and we had a walkabout on Wednesday in Jerusalem, and a Nazarite reactions on Sunday. So each day of the week, Sunday through Thursday, was a different thing. That was just a special thing I did for June, just as an experiment. Holy Hestia, that's a lovely beard, sir. Thank you, Atlas. Atlas is cool. I think you've been here before, or maybe some other Atlas. Either way, good to see you. Okay, cool, says Dudley for life. Yes, indeed. Israel did not fire on the Liberty for 18 hours. You'd think you'd know the facts if you're obsessed with it. Attack was a bit more than an hour. Oh, 18 hours. I didn't hear that it was 18 hours either. I thought it was much less. Makes sense, right? Malkitzedek says, why are Bibles from 1800s different from today? That they say Palestine was the Holy Land. Genuinely curious, I'm not suicidal. I have no idea who wrote Palestine in a Bible. I have no idea. Certainly it's not in the Hebrew Bible. As for translations, like I just mentioned, on Thursdays we would do mistranslated and misquoted or misunderstood Bible verses, and we would go into the Hebrew, and we would go into different translations, and it's how I found out that there's such a thing as a queer Bible. That was a really good live stream, that one with the queer Bible, and with a man should not lay as he does with a woman, with another man as he does with a woman. I thought the queer Bible interpretation of that verse was really great. Really great. Let's continue. Shai Minman says, Jonathan, I got to say, I believe the way forward is beyond religion and nationality. I believe the Eden-like experience is just that. Everything else is just a fight for the lesser evil. I agree. It's a means to an end, right? Because we are not in Eden right now, and we were kicked out, and so we need to handle what we can, and we need to use the tools that are at our disposal, right? We need to deal with what's available and work with what we have. And what we have is a world of borders and tongues and faiths and cultures and languages and differences. Will it eventually come together? Will we find that shared common root? Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. How? I don't know. But yes, I agree. Eden, the Edenic experience, the Edenic mindset, the Edenic life, the more that we can bring that into reality within measure, because we are still not in Eden, and the more that we can elevate this world towards that Edenic archetypal thing, the better off I think we all will be. And I mentioned this often as well. What does Rav Kook say? Kol ma she'ha'adam mitgadel, mitgadel ha'olam kulo imo. The more that a person is made great, the world is made great alongside him. Walmart Plus says, you look like a guy down the street I give my aluminum cans to. Okay, fair enough. Many people say I look homeless. By the grace of the Most High God, I have never been homeless. Jason says, Zionism, we're not cows. No, we are not cows. Dudley says, I'd say no, considering the Tanakh is much older than Islam, so Palestine wasn't in it. That's Jesus, says Chronic. Hey, Chronic, are you blazing? Are you blazing right now? What are you blazing? You look like a settler, like a first punk, says Joe. So I look like a homeless, I look like Jesus, I look like a settler, I look like a Rasta, I look like a guru. Many people say I look like many different things. I get it. I look human. How about that? A very low-level specimen of a human, a very hideous specimen of a human, but a humanoid nonetheless. What did you note that was mistranslated, Brotsivas says. Oh, a lot. I was doing this with an AI. I used Pilot or Claude or ChatGPT or one of them, Gemini. I used one of them or all of them, and because I wanted to be on my toes, all right, I wanted it to keep me on my, so I wanted to be surprised by the verse. So I did not choose verses. I let the AI choose the verse, and I let the AI choose the different translations Some of them a Hebrew source that's translated, and like a Jewish source. Some of them from other sources, like the Queer Bible or the King James Version, or other literal versions, and so on. So you could look it up. I don't remember anything offhand other than that Queer Bible verse right now, that a man should not lay in the same in that type of a bed as he does with a woman. Point is that if you want to know precisely, go check it out. It was just a few weeks ago in June, or a couple of months ago in June. It was right on Thursdays. So the Thursdays of June, there were four or five live streams where I did that. So check it out if you want. Len says, exactly, you are just amazing Jewish person. We love you lots. Thank you. I appreciate it. I really, really do. The kindness and the love and the good vibes. And I appreciate the bad vibes as well and the insults. It's all well and good. And what does Gary Vee say, right? He said, don't listen to the cheers and don't listen to the boos. But I truly do appreciate it nonetheless. Shai Minman says, the way is being vulnerable without the idea and the identity of religion and nationality. I think it's dangerous. And the way back is through true love and not hiding from death in a shrine of fame. What do you mean by hiding from death in a shrine of fame? That's an interesting way to put it, and I don't quite know what that means. What does it mean, hiding from death in a shrine of fame? As if fame would be you living forever in some way because you are known? What does that mean? Let us continue. The real word, says SR, the real word was almost like to sigh and disappointment, like a parent sighs over their children. The real word was almost like to sigh and disappointment. Disappointment. That's the real word? Truly? Interesting. Interesting. The mistranslated was that instead of sighs and disappointment, it was being translated as regretted. God did not regret, he was disappointed. Are you talking about before the flood? In what instance are you referring to? What is the instance you're referring to? To be honest, I enjoy listening to you. Thanks, Marcus. I love I love the back and forth, and I appreciate you taking the time to comment, man. J. Paul says, hey, J. Paul, good to see you again. Does not look like Jesus. His tan isn't anywhere as dark. Hey, FDF is here. You are cursed. Yes, I am. But that's because of my own doing, because of my own inadequacies, because of my own sin, my own shortcomings, my own faults and frailties and pitfalls. And I'm really trying. And I'm failing, but I'm trying each and every day, thought by thought, word by word, deed by deed, to be more blessed and less cursed. And I try to do that by being more of a blessing to others. And again, I'm failing, royally failing at this. But that is what I'm shooting for. And I think that even though I'm failing, the place that I'm stumbling and falling towards is a good place, And God willing, by the grace of God, I will be able to carry that out, perform it, and personify it more and more in my life. Shai Minman says, people fight to be remembered, and they do it in a religious or imperial nationalist way. It's useless and misleading. So you're saying that the whole thing of the nationalism and the religion is to counteract the fact that most of us will not be remembered 2 generations after we're dead. And in an effort to leave our mark in this world, we turn to nationalism and religion as a kind of facade or a means to an end, and we clothe ourselves in that in order to be remembered, and when we exalt it because it really does simply feed into our ego. Did I get that right? Is that what you're saying? Is that fame that you were talking about? Israel murders school children daily, says Mr. Johnson, always up. Well, I love a good erection, so that's cool. But as for Israel murders school children, no. If anything, Israel inadvertently kills school children daily because Hamas embeds itself into the civilian population for the precise reason that it wants more children to die. And are there individual soldiers, psychopaths who actually murdered, not killed in a war, murdered kids? Probably yes, and I think that they need to be in a grave or in prison. I think they need to be brought to justice and stand trial. But to say Israel murders school children is simply to feed into the Hamas propaganda and to not understand that it is Hamas that brought it upon its own population. Were Hamas any kind of an actual leader for their people, they would have accepted the fact that Israel disengaged from Gaza, and they would have turned their attention to their people, whom elected them democratically in 2006. But they decided to continue with their terrorist ways, continue stealing the money, continue to live a life of billionaires and millionaires, and the leaders of Hamas are all billionaires and millionaires. What do you think about Persia, says Dr. HZTR, is it? I think that they have a wonderful and ancient culture. I think that Cyrus the Great was the one who took over Babylon and allowed the kingdom of Judah to return and rebuild the temple. I think Achashverosh, Xerxes, right? They say it's Xerxes. I think that at the time of Mordechai and Esther in the kingdom of Persia, I think that he was the one who did Esther's bidding, right? Queen Esther's bidding, and hung Haman from the tree and allowed the Jews to live, and gave Mordechai and Esther permission. Right? So I also think that Persia, chess, right? They had a lot to do with chess. In fact, shachmat, checkmate, is Persian for the king has been captured, right? So I'm told that chess has its roots in India, but that Persia really sort of innovated and improved upon it. So that has a lot to do. Also, I love Persian rice. I loved certain Persian dishes that I've tasted over the years. And generally speaking, the Persian Jews that I've been in touch with here are always kind and awesome. That's what I have to say about Persia. Ralph B. says, do you think Jews would be in trouble if Christians gave up on Jesus? Why does one have to do it the other? If Christians gave up on Jesus, why would Jews be in trouble? I don't quite understand. Do you study Kabbalah? Putozuto says, yes, I do. I am a student of the Tree of Life. I've been a student of the Tree of Life ever since I was 16. But even after all these years, I'll always consider myself to be a student and a learner of introductions to introductions of introductions. That is all that I'm learning. That is all I think I will ever be learning. David says, I have a question. Did non-Jews have practices Nazarite vow? So there are non-Jews who take on this vow, but halachically speaking, the non-Jews do not have that particular Nazarite vow with its prohibitions and its regulations and its laws, because it says, speak to the children of Israel. It does not say speak to the nations. So what I say to non-Jews who take on the Nazarite vow is that while they may not be technically, halakhically Hebrew Nazarites, they are indeed taking a vow between themselves and their Creator. So I tell them that the rules and the halachas and the laws of the Nazariteship as they appear in the Torah do not apply to them from the onset, just by virtue of them being Nazarites that are Gentiles. But if they took on a vow, you can call it being a Nazarite, or you can call it being a Vegemite. Whatever it is, if you took on a vow, and you're serious, and it's solemn, and it's real, and it's true, and you do it in earnest, and you also stipulate the different conditions under which the vow might be annulled or broken, the prohibitions that are carried out, within it and all that, that is a vow that you took as a human being between you and your Creator, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you do actually treat it with seriousness, there's nothing wrong with that. Are you a Jewish Nazarite? No. But does it matter? No. You're still taking a vow. That still has meaning. Belmonte says 16 is too young, must be 40. No, those prohibitions in the past are in the past. Ever since the arrival of the Ari, ever since the Arizal came to the picture, and definitely, if not the Ari, shortly afterwards, the prohibitions, right, which means the prerequisites. You had to be married, you had to have kids, you had to be 40, you had to be a guy, you had to be full of Shas and Poskim, right, of Talmud, Mishnah, Halacha. That is no longer the case. It's no longer the case. It used to be the case, but it's no longer the case. So that is not true. Are there people who still say that those prohibitions, that those prerequisites need to be adhered to, like yourself, Belmonte? Yes, but it's not the case. Most Kabbalists would disagree. The only thing that I say is that if you're going to study Kabbalah, it ought to be, should be kosher Kabbalah from a kosher master. Kosher Kabbalah from a kosher master. That is the prerequisite. Homeless, says Sulian Masl. No, I am not. You can use AI for Kabbalah. I mean, you could. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Kosher Kabbalah from a kosher master. That is what it should be. At least for the first, I don't know how many years. Kosher Kabbalah from a kosher master. That's what I say. I'm not gatekeeping. I'm saying that's the best way to go about it. That's my experience. Going to AI for your faith, says SR, is no different than going to a demon, in my opinion. It's often wrong and needing to be corrected. Yeah, AI hallucinates plenty of things. AI will tell you that the Nazarite chip is not halachically viable. And then when you say, what about the Samson and Nazarite chip? It's, right, of course. I've done this. Do you believe in Judaism, says Yesel? I am a Hebrew man of the kingdom of Judah. So yes, I do believe in Judaism. Do not use AI for Kabbalah. No, you probably shouldn't. Kosher Kabbalah from a kosher master. That is what you should be doing. If you are interested in learning the lore of the 10 Sfirot, if you are interested in learning about the divine attributes, go to a proper master. Study kosher Kabbalah from a kosher master. That's what I say. The AI was spot on when I asked. It could be that with the basics of Kabbalah, AI certainly is knowledgeable. But if you ask it a question more in depth, it will start hallucinating. If you bring something, let's say, from the Zohar, right? That could go, let's say, one way or another, depending on the commentary you go by. And the Parzuf, if you're a Lurianic Kabbalist, it will get confused and it will hallucinate, which is why you need a master, somebody you connect with, right? Somebody that you are with, who you study with, day in and day out, or once a week, whatever the case may be. I'm not even saying it should be face-to-face. It can be with Zoom. But a kosher Kabbalist, right, a proper master, can teach you a lot. Very much so. Any thoughts on Zoroastrianism? Yes, that people say that that Zoroastrianism is the foundation of the of the Hebrew faith and of the monotheistic ideas of the Hebrew faith. Certain ideas that later found their way into the Mishnah and the Talmud, the idea of judgment at the end, and so on. So without knowing too much about Zoroastrianism, I will say that the things that I have read about that faith, that religion, are very cool. And I feel that there's a lot of wisdom there. So I may not be part of that faith, but I can still find wisdom in that faith. Dean says, I'll send you $100 if you smoke crack on stream. No, I don't think so. I'm not planning on doing that, nor do I need your money. So thank you. If you are going to give, understand that it goes to charity here in Jerusalem after YouTube takes its cut. But crack, I think, is one of those things where I'm like, oh, not even once. Belmonte, you have no clue what Kabbalah is, says Tenebris. Oh, are they having a back and forth in the chat? There are so many misconceptions about Kabbalah. And it's ironic, because Kabbalah means receive. That's what the word literally means in Hebrew. Kabbalah means to receive, or a receipt as well. Cyrus was a Zoroastrian. Yes, that makes sense too. That makes sense. I'll smoke crack if you give me $100, says MSG. Hi, MSG. SR says, study the basics of Scripture. Most people need the milk of the word, or they will choke on meat. Yes, indeed. At least to start with that, for sure. Yes. Madonna studied Kabbalah, says Katchi. Yes, I think that the Kabbalah that she studied with the Kabbalah centers are disputed by Kabbalists here and there. So it's not a 100% agreed upon kosher Kabbalah. I think the Kabbalah, if you're going to it, go with something that is as close to being 100% accepted as can be, right? I think the Kabbalah that she studied is more of the Kabbalah Center in Los Angeles, that type of thing, and maybe different Kabbalah centers in that, right? And I don't know if that is kosher Kabbalah or not. I've been told by Kabbalists that that is not proper Kabbalah. And even though there are universal elements to Kabbalah that they do share, and even though you can make the argument that you should share the universal elements of the Kabbalah with non-Jews, it becomes problematic because I've been told it can become highly problematic because they sort of veer into the non-kosher elements of Kabbalah through the desire of embracing the universal aspects of the Hebrew Kabbalah. They veer off the path, and from kosher it goes to non-kosher, and then it breaks down. But I don't know. I truly don't know. Shai Minman says, yes, you got it right. Rather be loved truly than be remembered. 1,000,000%. I never felt true love in religion or national frame, only misleading, skeptical of fame that want to replace the need for love. Voila. No true love in religion or nationality, like nationalism. So you're saying it's very much an ego thing. Very much an ego thing. I understand what you mean. I understand what you mean. What masters are considered kosher? Let's put it this way. Some people say I'll know it when I see it. To start off from the very, very like onset, I would say somebody who is a Baal Midot. That's what I would say. First of all, somebody who is a rabbi or a Kabbalist who's not ordained as a rabbi. So they either are a rabbi who studies Kabbalah or a Kabbalist who's not a rabbi. And there already is a kosher element to that, or at least the potential thereof. But the kosher part would be, before you go and learn from him, talk with him, see if there's a connection, and observe the way that he teaches a class, let's say, or the way that he reacts with his students or interacts with his disciples, right? And see if you can perceive in him the character, the personality traits that you would consider kosher by your own definition. Now, as somebody who came from the modern orthodoxy and who went to yeshiva, a part of me, when you asked that question, said the bare minimum would be an Orthodox rabbi. But I didn't say that because I believe that some Orthodox rabbi Kabbalists end up being people who mistreat people, who all the while thinking that they are doing the will of God. And we have stories about very famous Orthodox, Jewish, Kabbalist rabbis, even in recent years, that did horrible things, all the while thinking that they were doing the will of God. So even though a part of me, the Orthodox part of me that said the bare minimum of kosher would be an Orthodox rabbi, it's not what I said, though it is what I thought. And I'm saying it now after I said already a person, their character, their personality, how they interact with their disciples and students, how they teach a class, because I think that can tell you a lot about who they are as a person. And even if it can or couldn't, I don't know, it would be the way to begin discerning. How would you discern? I do not know. But I think that if I were to start from scratch, let's say, or to go and try and learn from a master, that's the way that I would do it. I would go and see who they are when they interact with others. I would go and see and try to glean certain things and discern certain things. I think that's what I would do. Not to say that my vision is like this all-encompassing, all-seeing eye, and I can understand that. No. It would be me. It would be me. Catchy says, it's cool that you have extensive knowledge and get lost in thought. Again, I don't consider myself to be extensively knowledgeable in any way, shape, or form, but I am standing on the shoulders of knowledgeable giants, or attempting to stand on the shoulders of giants, of knowledgeable giants. Ooh, we have some Paleo Hebrew. We have some Paleo Hebrew here. I see a taf. I see an aleph. I see, is it a shin? I'm trying to do it without Googling it. Without Googling it. Is that a dalet? Let's see, what is it? Bereshit. That's what it is. That's Paleo Hebrew for Bereshit. So I was right with the aleph, and I was right with the shin, and I was right with the taf. 3 out of 6. I recognize 3 out of 6 Paleo Hebrew letters. Not bad. Not bad. MSG says, hey, are there some kind of controversial teachings in Kabbalah? Yes, there are. I'm just going off things I've heard. I'm sure it isn't true. It definitely is true. That is partly why you don't rule halacha according to the Zohar. One example is being able to manipulate people. Is it true? So that's not a teaching in the Kabbalah. That's practical Kabbalah, Kabbalah ma'asit. I am not a practical Kabbalist or any kind of Kabbalist, nor have I studied that lore, though I do know a couple of practical Kabbalists who don't manipulate people. They aid people who come to them for guidance and advice. People who perform exorcisms and things like that. Yep. BRZ says, you keep mentioning kosher here, but I'm very unsure of your usage here by your own definition. That is a useless term when speaking on kashrut. Yes. If you're speaking of, let's say, basar b'chalav, tum'ah v'tahara, isur v'heter, yes. And like I said, what first popped into my mind is a kosher Orthodox rabbi. That's what first popped into my mind. But what I said was something else, and only later did I bring the Orthodox rabbi thing into the conversation. By your own definition, I mean that has to do with more of a conceptual kashrut. What is it that makes a person kosher? Is it not the way they behave? Is it not the way that they live? Is it not the way that they speak? Is it not the way they treat others? Is it not the content of their character that makes them truly kosher? Right? Sure, you have that technical adherence, or even a very fervent and zealot zealot adherence to commandments and to Torah. What I mean to say, right? Somebody who studies Torah, somebody who keeps the commandments, somebody who treats their fellow human beings properly, and somebody who is seen to be a good person who is loved by his or her disciples. That would be a kosher master. But it really does change on a case-by-case basis. You are right to call me out on when I said by your own definition. I only say that because I'm not trying to gatekeep. I only say that is the only prerequisite, and yet when faced with the question, what is a kosher master, I kind of stumbled and said something like that, because I'm truly unsure. Because when I was studying from masters back in the day, I was a yeshiva bacher, and I was somebody who had several masters right at the time, and people learning with for a few years. Kabbalah, Torah, Halacha, Mishnah, Agadah, Talmud. And I sort of took it for granted that the way to go is the Orthodox path. And now I'm off that derech to the degree that I am. And that's, I suppose, why I said by your own definition. But maybe you are very, very much correct, and it should not be by one's own subjective definition. Maybe it should be that I should say that the bare minimum of a kosher instructor, a kosher master, should be an Orthodox rabbi. Maybe. On the other hand, another part of me says, you know what though? Maybe there are people who are Kabbalists that have not been ordained, that may still be potentially a good master for certain people. So I don't want to speak in absolutes. That's what it is. I feared to talk in an absolute way about it. That's why I said what I said. Because I still want to keep the subjectivity. I still want to keep the kind of relativist thing here. I fear speaking in absolutes. My mind immediately went to a proper Orthodox ordained rabbi, right? That's what my mind went to. And yet I feared to speak that out loud at first, wanting to go more for the vague thing. But perhaps you are right, MSG. Perhaps in this specific case, the bare minimum would be a proper ordained Orthodox rabbi. That should be a kosher master at minimum. Maybe. What do you think, Chad? I just gave you my whole sort of train of thought on why I said what I said and why. On what is it that I said and why I said it. What do you think about that? I'm curious. BRZ says the nuance you are looking for is in the commandments themselves. You can be instructed in the Torah and in the Mishnah and the Talmud all, but the big issue is the law itself. The big issue is the law itself. So you would consider somebody who keeps strict halacha to be someone kosher. Am I getting that right? Neon says, okay, I'm out of this shit show. All right, Neon, good to see you, man. I hope to see you again sometime. Why is there animal suffering before the fall? Animals killed each other, Luke says. Again, I don't understand. What are you talking about? Where were there animals killing each other? V'chum v'chanun. How do we pray? I mean solitude. Teach us how to turn to Hashem like this. Like this. Talk to Hashem the way you would talk to an intimate partner, or your shrink, or your physician, or a friend. Talk. I mean, there are different facets of the divine that relate to the individual. And there have been times where I spoke to God as a shrink. There have been times where I spoke to God as in my intimate partner. There are times where I spoke to God as a friend, as a son, as a servant. It really does depend on the mood and the state of mind that you are in at that moment, right? That's why Hibodedut is that spontaneous meditative prayer, because it really is the outpouring of the soul, right? What did Rabbi Nachman call it? Hishtapchut hanefesh. Hishtapchut hanefesh, the outpouring of the soul. That is Hibodedut. That is how you do it. Your thoughts on sex before marriage, says Amcan. Well, my thoughts on sex. I knew from a young age that I wanted to keep it for after I was married. I think that that's a gamble, because if you put a lot of stock into the sexual element of marriage and you end up being incompatible sexually, or you end up in a dead bedroom, or it can be really, really like great anguish, torment, depression. But I think that ideally sex should be after marriage. I don't look down at people who have sex before marriage. I understand that I'm raising my kids not as religious, right? I'm not raising them religious. There is a chance that they will have sex before marriage. I understand that what I am raising them to believe and to go, right? I'm not indoctrinating them, but simply this is what I think. Do it, don't do it. Is that sex is such an amazing and intimate thing. It should be within the bounds of a union, of a covenant. And before you let yourself into somebody else's body, first let them into your life, them into your heart. Before you're able to give yourself to someone physically, give yourself to each other spiritually, mentally, right? Have a covenant. The sexual act should be the physical manifestation of a spiritual covenant. And I think, but I don't know. Look, I married my first girlfriend. I met her at 16. I married at 20. Easy for me to say, right? So those are my thoughts. MSG says, what is your favorite movie, book, and video game? I mean, I suppose it changes. My favorite movie, I think, is Adaptation. I think it's Adaptation, but I'm not sure. I'm also a sucker for, Mel Brooks, Woody Allen that I mentioned a couple of live streams ago or yesterday. My favorite book. Also changes. A book I go back to a lot, every so often, is Stephen King's The Shining. I really do. I go back to it every now and then. As for video game, I went to arcades in the 80s and the early 90s, and I'm a sucker for the old school video games. But in my 20s, after I was discharged from mandatory service, I had a period of time, like a year, where I was playing all kinds of GTAs. I played San Andreas, I played Liberty City, I played GTA 3, maybe one other, but yeah, so I like that. Though I haven't played video games in a very long time. תגיד רגע בעברית. אני מאורס וחי בלי חתונה 4 שנים, בגלל זה עזבתי ישיבה, כרגע אי אפשר להתחתן, אבל התארסנו בחוץ עם עדים. אוקיי, so you're betrothed, אתה מאורס. וחי בלי חתונה, אוקיי. ו... למה, א', למה אי אפשר להתחתן, אם אתה רוצה, אבל... PW says, do people think you are smart? Some people probably do, some people probably not. Chat. Ask the chat, don't ask me. I'm not asking, don't give a yes or a no, but I don't, רציתי לשאול מה דעתך? וואלה. אני לא יודע מה המצב שלך. אני לא יודע מה הנסיבות שבגינן אתם לא מתחתנים. אז אין לי דעה. אני צריך לדעת הרבה יותר בשביל שתהיה לי דעה. באמת. היא לומדת באוניברסיטה ולא רוצה להתחתן כרגע, בגלל זה עזבתי את הישיבה. למה עזבת את הישיבה? למה אחד מוביל לשני? למה זה שאתם מאורסים אבל לא מחותנים ומקודשים עדיין? למה... רגע, אז היה קידושין, לא היה נישואין, כן? אתה קידשת אותה. כשאתה אומר אירוסין, אתה מתכוון שאמרת לה, הרי את מקודשת לי, ועדיין לא היו ברכות הנישואין, או שעדיין לא קידשת אותה עם טבעת או שווה פרוטה, או עם שטר. ידענו שלא ייתנו לנו להמשיך לחיות ככה. אוקיי, אבל זה אומר מה זאת אומרת ייתנו לנו, לא ייתנו לנו? איך מישהו נותן לך או לא נותן לך? אני לא בדיוק מבין. אירוסין, הצעת אירוסין, נתינת טבעת. אוקיי, אז קידשת אותה עם טבעת. סבבה. אז אתם מאורסים, אז אתם מקודשים אבל לא מחותנים. אוקיי, אתם מקודשים ולא מחותנים. לפי ההלכה, זה לא משהו שנראה לי ראוי לעשות, אבל אני לא הולך לפי כל ההלכות, כן? מה דעתי? קשה לי לחוות דעה. קשה לי לחוות דעה בגלל שזה משהו כל כך אישי ופרטני ופרטי, שאין לי דעה. אין לי דעה לכאן או לכאן. זה טוב שקידשת אותה, זה נפלא, אבל אני באמת לא יודע מה להגיד לך. אני לא מכיר את החיים שלך, אני לא מכיר את החיים המשותפים שלכם. קשה לי מאוד לחוות דעה. Can you use the Force, says Lighthoof. Well, Lighthoof, I've likened Nazarites not to the Jedi, but to Force-sensitive individuals. That's what I likened it to. Because when people, I did this at some point where I said, there was a video I did, is the Hebrew Nazarite a Hebrew monk? Now, in some ways, there is a monastic element and an ascetic element to the Nazariteship. But in other ways, the Nazarite is commanded to live in the world, right? Elevate yourself in these certain ways, extricate yourself in these precise things, and set these aside, consecrate yourself in these things alone. Now, it's a means to an end, it's a doorway towards something, yes, but Nazarites, by and large, live in the world, right? They get married, they have kids. So I said, is the Hebrew Nazarite a Jewish monk? And I concluded there, tentatively, no. If we were likening it to the Jedi, then it would be not a Jedi, but somebody who is Force-sensitive, but cannot yet control the Force. That's what I would say. תודה שאתה אוזן קשבת, ממש נהיינו חברים אפילו שזה אונליין. כן, אתה יודע, זה סבבה, אני שמח שאתה פה. אבל באמת, קח את כל הדברים שאני אומר, עם כל כך הרבה, אתה יודע, ממש, קח אותם בערבון מאוד מאוד מוגבל, לך לרב, כן? לך לאדם שאתה מעריך, לא אני, כי אני נזיר חוטא. ואני לא איש הלכה ולא איש של תורה, אני משתדל להיות, אבל אני לא, כן? How often do you hear Yiddish, if ever, in Israel? Barely, Belmonte. Barely ever, unfortunately. It's a dying sort of language. There is the Yiddish theater, though I frequented it maybe once in my life, or maybe never. I think I have seen something in Yiddish, maybe a Purim spiel sometime. I'm not sure. Okay, wow. I just got a tired brainwave. So I know that this is the time to say goodnight and thank you. People, be blessed, be a blessing to others, be the light in other people's lives. I really truly hope that you see me on the next live stream where the wonders never cease. Thank you for being here. I don't take it for granted. Your time, kind and gentle attention, your participation, your engagement. Once again, I appreciate every like, every sub, every view, every comment, every chat, every DM, every insult, every every type of vitriol that is hurled at me and aspersions cast upon me, and the encouraging questions, the support, the theological questions, the philosophical questions, the vote of confidence that you have for some stupid reason in me. I really appreciate it. You could be doing anything else right now, truly anything, and yet you're here with me, sometimes for hours at a time, and I have so much fun with you, and I really appreciate you being here. It's not, it's no small thing, let alone the contributions here that go to charity here in Jerusalem, and the fact that you have sometimes people in the chat sticking up for me when other people are trolling or saying different things, and you have people, it's come to a point where I sometimes don't even need to do it, so to speak, and there are people in the chat who will already speak up and say, no, he's this, he's that, because some people really truly get to know me to the degree that you can know someone digitally. And I think it's a lot of fun. And I think there's a connection here, albeit a digital one, zeros and ones. And yet, sometimes certain things are discussed here that are very noble and lofty, or just stanky and nasty. And there's a connection here, and I deeply appreciate it. So, a quick prayer for peace and love and unity among all the multiverse of multiverses. May we here on earth be able to make great again the human race and be able to overcome our differences, be able to overcome our own insufficiencies and our own inadequacies, to be great again, to be able to rise up to the challenge and get after it. May we be able to overcome our weaknesses and our faults and frailties. May we be able to see each other more plainly, more truly, embrace each other, right? As human beings made in the image of God, as earthlings, pure and simple. Before all this crap took place, may we be able to bridge the gaps between us. May we be able to find common ground. May we be able to live lives of peace and love and righteousness. May it be so. And may war and bloodshed and terrorism and death itself, may it all be lifted clean out of creation, even right now as I am speaking these words. May the knowledge of God cover all creation as water covers the seabed. May God pour his Spirit upon all flesh. May we be elevated. May we live such a life of elevation, despite our sinful nature, despite our wrongdoings. May we be able to overcome and become greater. Until tomorrow, likely, but who knows? Until the next live stream, thank you for being here. Peace and love and good night from Zion. This has been so much fun. Oh, wait. And if I missed you in the chat, please leave a comment. If you want to hit me up in the DMs, Hebrew Nazarite across the board, on X, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Please understand, mea culpa, my apologies. I don't mean to ignore anyone or censor anyone. I'm not intentionally not answering. Leave a comment, because I do address every single comment that is addressed to me that YouTube notifies me of. There. Wow, I am hungry. I am tired. I am ready to go to eat and go to bed. This has been so much fun. Truly. It's been almost 3 hours. It went by like that. And you know why? Because this is something I truly love doing. It's so immersive for me. Really. It's such a high. And I love it. And thank you for being here with me. God bless.